That's me in the very beginning. Now I am a baby and getting zoomed from my mom to my birthday. I don't remember a lot about my younger life, but I remember it was fun and I felt so safe. My mom and dad always happy. I guess my mom's sister was mad that my dad was so great, so she called the police and said he hit my mom. We were all reading and they came. I heard my dad yelling, "There's no way!" My mom was crying loudly. Some lady took us away. The court said my parents abused and neglected us. They only loved us. The caseworker lied. I never saw my parents again. I'm still hoping one day they come. I am a victim of CPS and so are my parents. We need to find justice in all of this madness for all of us that are being abused. It's not fair. Every kid I know has a mom and dad. I know they miss me. I bet they fight every day for me to come home.
Don't get caught like us. Know your rights.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
Everybody, what is up? It's the CPS Punisher. It is, holy smokes, it's Tuesday night. Sorry about that. Tuesday night. CPS victims hunting justice. I'm sorry, I know I say this every night, but I'm just getting used to the new ways they have these videos done. So I apologize about the yak stuff here. Small talk, but once I get up there, I'm going to show you guys how we have a live chat that's going to be right here on the side. I can't get up there. Here we go. Oh, yes, I did it. All right, here I am. Yes. All right, CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I am your host, the CPS Punisher. All right, guys, we have this beautiful chat right there. Right there is where you put your words, and we'll be able to read those questions and answer them and everything else. I think we got a bunch of people wanting to come in and chime in tonight, but I think, to be honest, I think I want to start this up with our main man, the Vin man over here, our cousin Vinny. Because our cousin Vinny went to court today, guys, and our cousin Vinny, well, I'll let him tell you. Durham. Oh, beautiful. Durham, would you guys like a link? Because I think we're just going to have a powwow with a bunch of us tonight, a little roundtable meeting. If you guys don't mind doing that, we could do that. So Durham, I'll send you an email with the show link on it. I guess unless when I put it up here on the chat, if you use that, if that's easier, I can do that too. But anyway, guys, so with no ado, with no avail, whatever the words are, welcome everybody. Thank you for showing up here tonight. Please make sure you like, share, tell a friend, leave some comments, dance around, do whatever you got to do to make us get noticed. We need to make sure that this thing gets out there. And now we have our friends from the UK. We got Durham Justice. We got Angie will be joining us tonight. Okay, I will do that. Carrie's already in here. I see that. I mean, we got all you guys are ready to rock and roll with us. I know that's because of my fine skilling and getting on time. But enough about me. Let's hear who we really want to hear about. Let's hear about Vinny. Vinny!
Yeah, man.
What is up, my man?
A whole hell of a lot.
Yeah.
So,
hold on.
Yeah, I definitely went to court today. I got there at 9:30. I walked into the courtroom at 10 o'clock. Sat down.
9:30 though, right? You just said?
Yeah, I was there at 9:30.
Okay. Sorry about that. I shut my scanner off.
And walked into the courtroom. We had roll call, obviously.
Yeah.
They Ashley said you forgot her link.
Oh, son of a biscuit. Okay.
What's up, Darren?
What's happening, buddy?
So we walk into the courtroom and we sat down after they had roll call. They had a few cases before mine was thought about. And they had recess before that. And I see my attorney get up and walk to the back of the court. And then I see the DA walk behind him like, okay, something's going on. They were called back to the chambers of the judge. Well, 10 minutes later, after both my wife and my mom walked to the bathroom and came back, he came in and he's like, come with me. We go outside the courtroom. And he's like, we're going to meet in here for a minute. So he pulls me into the little office and he's like, well, they are siding in favor with you. The judge raised an eyebrow on the case, stated that the state troopers did not do their job as they should have. There's a lot of loopholes and a lot of loose evidence not happening in this case. They granted my visitations. So that's going to be Monday and Thursday. And my jail thing for being on house arrest is going to change in about 3 or 4 days. He's waiting to give his decision. So I'll be able to go around Sebago at least and get out, walk, go
good.
ATV if I want.
Yeah. You get Vinny out in the world again.
Yeah. So they have 60 to 90 days to prove this case, or it is grounds for dismissal.
Very good. That's good stuff. I mean, you must have been happier than a pig in dung once you got out of there today.
Yep. And then I talked tonight. I talked to my CPS attorney, and he said to me on the phone that he's waiting for the paper to set up visits, and once he gets that, then we'll have a family team meeting where he will make demands, and if they do not follow through, he will serve them.
Oh,
So he's on top of his game, and so isn't my
okay,
criminal attorney.
good, Vinny.
I'll have visitation, Ashley.
Mm-hmm. That's
I was
like the
granted
number
my
one thing.
visitation.
That's like the number one thing, you know, is that visitation stuff.
Yep.
You don't like I said, and I know everybody's like, yeah, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Believe me, people, that's what they do. They wait and they make you, you know, like you're not even paying attention. And the next thing you know, you've gone 6 months without being parallel with your children. And they're like, oh, you've abandoned them. And you're like, whoa, what do you mean? But because this county or the state or whomever ordered you not to see your child, you've now been TPR'd because of that order, but they don't look at it that way. You know, like they don't look at it like, oh, I couldn't have or whatever. It's like, bang.
Nope, because I had the proof, and the proof is the pudding.
Sure is. And a little bit of everything.
And the fact that the state police have screwed up this case entirely for a judge to raise her eyebrow at it says a lot.
It really does, man. And it says a lot to you too, dude, about how you fought and how you've, you know, stuck by your word, man. You've been like, dude, I'm doing this my way, and that's the way it's going to be.
Yep.
Yada, yada, yada. And you stuck to it, dude, and you've shown them their toughness. You know, like you're not going anywhere. You're not backing down. And you've done all this without hurting anybody, without being rude, without, you know, blasphemy and all this other bull BS. It's all just done from you and your heart, man.
And I'm excited about being able to see my 2 kids, because it not only states my youngest, it states the oldest has to be there as well.
That's so great, dude. Good for you. All because you fought. Because they would have let you go right by the wayside, man. Just see you later, Vinny. Bye-bye. Another number. But because you stuck up for yourself and you've done this, you know, like you've said, it's a good
so
job.
Obviously they moved the deposition here and back to 90 days. So that's exactly 2 months away.
Okay. How many? Oh, wow. Okay. I'm just writing this in. What was the date again? Or just 2 months from today?
2 months from today.
So for real, 2 months from today?
They didn't really say much. I mean, it was just my attorney that talked to me. I didn't have to go before.
So I'm saying the date.
I think he said something about November 19th or something.
So we can just say November though. End of November.
Yep.
All right. End of November. Okay.
Yeah, it was my criminal case today. Yep.
Yeah. So what does that mean on the criminal side of stuff? Might as well get this all aired out right now.
Well, it basically means that dismissal is definitely not off the table, and that the DA is kind of pulling backward.
That's good stuff, man.
Because even the DA is seeing that this child is a flight risk.
Wow. Well, I don't think it's just that they're seeing that, brother. I think that they're seeing the fact that you didn't do anything. That this has nothing to do with you. And I don't want you to go into any more detail on your case or anything, because you need to be.
No. I need to be respectful of that part.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's good where you just went. But believe me, everybody, when I hear what it's good for him. You know, like we should all be somewhat semi cross your fingers and all that good stuff. Crossing, you know, like having a hooray for Vinny, hoorah, man. This is the first good news we've gotten out of anything. And I mean, I can't even tell you the last time that I heard anything good come out of CPS.
I guess I have two really good attorneys.
Oh, I don't, Vinny, you do. Oh, Josie, come back in. Josie's here, right? We got Josie in the back.
Nice. Josie!
Here comes Josie. She's all upset. She said, "Oh, I missed it," but no, she didn't. You're still right here, and there's no reason we can't recap it, right? And Vinny, you're also the CPS Punisher right now.
That's all right.
Yes,
How did
yes,
it go?
Vinny,
How did
it's
it
okay.
go?
It went really well, Josie. They didn't even hold the deposition hearing. That's how well it went.
Good.
And they didn't even come at me with a plea. Nothing.
So what's next?
I got my visitation.
Okay.
I'm gonna be able to go out at least around my town. So I won't be on full house arrest.
Good.
Like
See?
November 19th, right? We're thinking court is.
Yep.
What did your lawyer say? Did you just say like fuck you, I'm gonna do this myself?
No, he went in the back of the judge's chambers with the DA.
Okay.
The judge raised her eyebrow at this case and said there is major things wrong with this case.
That's great. That is so
Good
good.
for you.
And she's a woman judge at that.
There,
Right.
there you go.
What county is she in?
She's in Cumberland.
Cumberland. All right, that's cool.
So what
is
happened?
the-
Where does
go
this
ahead,
leave you
Josie,
with
sorry.
the kids?
They're mandating that I have contact in-person visitations with both children.
Okay, well at least you got visitations. Just look at it as a positive, right?
That's
Well,
right.
this is what I said, Josie, right?
Pardon?
What
So-
do you- check this out, Josie. What do you think? Because there wasn't even an order that didn't let him. They never even did anything to stop him. They just said that he couldn't go anymore. They never put an order on. They never did anything.
No, I
mean,
don't.
I
I
would
don't.
think that
I
you should be
don't
able
have a
to-
contract. I don't have a contract with
Right,
CPS
but you just never
whatsoever.
went because the bottom line is they just said you couldn't see them, and so you stopped going to see them.
I didn't get to go at all. They told me I couldn't.
I just,
No,
that's
I
what I'm
wasn't
saying. Like they just said they said that's it. There was no judge, no jury, no letters. They just said you're done, dude. See you later.
Mm-hmm.
If they even give you that satisfaction.
Wow.
So, oh my god, I lost my train of thought. That's so good.
Do you guys want to hear something fucked up?
I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Okay, listen to this. Okay, so now my mission is helping others, right? So this other girl that I helped to not have a birth alert, that she got to keep her child. Well, now the same CPS in my region, they want to adopt her other child, like her oldest. She has like an older child. They wanted to give it up to adoption, and the date is August 31st for the trial to give the baby up for adoption, right? So she's like, can you help me, blah blah, because I helped her not get this baby taken away, blah blah. And I was like, well, I'll do what I can. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, you need to write me a letter, and you need to tell me, you need to disagree with that you don't want the baby to be adopted. And I said, you need to write that you want a transfer, right? A provincial transfer, because she's not in Quebec anymore, right? She's in a different province. And I'm like, you need to write me a letter of you and your boyfriend, write me a letter saying that you do not consent to the adoption, and that you want a transfer a province with this child, right? And you want it to be in the province you're at. And she's like, okay. So she did her homework. She sent it to me, and then check this out. So I went to see the bailiff guy, the bailiff guy, and I said, you're gonna bring one letter to the court, because we know how to have, because she's not here, so she can't come to court, right? And I was like, so I the bailiff, I paid for him to go to the courthouse here, family court in Chicoutimi, and then I paid the same bailiff to go bring the official paper to get the signature to the DPG, right, to Children's Aid. Okay, hold on, I'm putting my dogs in. Okay, so that's it. And then today I got a call from the courthouse, okay? And the clerk at the courthouse says, "Hi, blah blah. You were the person who was in charge. The bailiff guy came to us, but the baby in question is not in our district of Chicoutimi. She's in somewhere. She's like in another place, but it's like maybe like an hour and a half away. But I didn't realize. I thought it was all the same thing, right? She used to live here, so I didn't realize. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, all right. So I said, what are you gonna do to the clerk? And then she's like, well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna email the other courthouse because we found the number, and like we found the case, and we're gonna email it, and then we're gonna send it by paper to them. And I'm like, by express post. And I'm like, okay. I was like, can you CC me? I don't know if you guys say that, CC on an email, so that I have like the response that she's emailing them saying that I sent it to the wrong courthouse. And she's like, yeah, no problem, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, perfect. So she literally CC'd me. I got the confirmation that the next courthouse was gonna get it, blah blah, everything's fine. And I was like all proud of myself. I was like, well, now they can't. Now that they have like a hot potato in their hands, right? Because they're not consenting. And then my husband gets back from work, and then my husband said, and this is funny because I didn't think of it. My husband said, he sat down. He's like, why did they call you? And I was like, oh,
Right.
I was like, and then I said, well, it's because I'm the one that wrote my name on it. And he's like, yeah, but you. Like, how do they have your phone number? And I'm like, well, come on, it's me. They all know me by now. And he's like, well, technically, they shouldn't have called you.
Darren and Josie, we got Raggy and Durham with us.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they are here.
Okay.
But finish, Josie.
Okay.
Finish.
So I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think of that, right? Like they know me now, so they know Jose Bedvet. And he goes, and my husband said, you know what they just did is against confidentiality, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, he goes, you weren't even allowed to ask for anything about Kaylee because it wasn't your file. And they just confirmed to you that she is not here, and they confirmed where she is, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, that goes against, like, they shouldn't have give you that information. You are not the parent. And I was like,
Right.
Oh shit, you're completely right. They fucked up.
We talked about this.
Breach of confidentiality.
Yeah, we talked about how they just, because think about it. Weren't you on that show that we talked about? I said, how do they even get your child's name?
Yeah. No, but can you believe it? They gave me the information
Right.
of this child saying, oh, her file's not here in this courthouse. She's in that courthouse.
Right.
Blah,
I know,
blah,
they're
blah,
just handing
blah.
you out confidential information.
Yeah, I shouldn't.
Right.
I shouldn't even had that information when I went in and I was trying to get information about my own granddaughter. They're like, nope, we can't give you anything. But now they're giving it to me for a complete stranger, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
They fucked up, and I had the email confirmation saying that she's transferring the email to a different place. Like, I was like, oh, well, there you go. I didn't even think of that. My husband was like, well, that was against confidentiality. They can get in real big trouble for that. And I was like, oh well,
Just
more juice to put in my fucking thing.
You want me to bring them out, Darren?
Yeah, let's get out. Let's get Durham and let's get Rangy out here.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hey, how are you, my man?
I'm all right, Darren. How are you?
I'm doing well. This is Josie's right there on your whatever, left or right. Yeah, that one. That's Josie.
Josie,
Right
how you doing, Josie?
I'm good. How are you doing? You're on TikTok, aren't you?
Yeah.
Very much so he is.
Yeah, and right above him is Vinny,
How you doing, Vinny, brother?
What's
You
up,
okay?
man?
and then Mr. Justice is behind the scenes here. He's plaque behind, but you're there too, right, Durham?
Yes, I am.
All right, cool. You guys know
Thanks
each
for letting
other.
us on, Darren. Hi, Josie. Vinny, great news.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Absolutely great news. I'm pleased for you.
I don't know where Herbert is. Is he back here yet?
My mate.
He'll be in. All right, so guys, do you want to maybe so you're new to our audience. Randy, you guys want to maybe tell us about what you guys have got going on in a nutshell?
No,
Who you are and what's going on?
Randy take the reins. Go on.
Yeah, I could tell you in a nutshell. But before I do, with Vinny, congratulations. But I've seen many cases where the last minute everything changes, and I pray to God that it doesn't change. I've seen it too often that it's happened like that. So congratulations for that. And what's going on over here is a pandemic in a nutshell. We're dealing with situations where constantly in every town and city throughout the whole United Kingdom, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, they're manufacturing documents, manufacturing concerns, manufacturing crimes against the parents just to steal the babies. And most of the time, the children are never to be seen again. And we have over 10,000 minimum a year that disappear from the soil of UK.
Yeah.
And that's sugar-coated side of it.
That's what they tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said it's a sugar-coated.
Right.
The other issue that we have bringing to light now is when there's victims of child sexual abuse and they break silence, the authorities get involved and they change their medical records to make them into a perpetrator just to cover up their failings and mistakes, because there's a link between the paedophile rings and obviously the authorities. And then they just target their children. So I'm open for questions.
Yeah, that's, I mean, pretty much our man here is just dealing with that same plot, that same scheme that they've got working. And you know what? It's awesome. He's putting it right back. He's fighting, and he's in the courtroom and he's doing it, but he's fighting and he's winning that one, because that's been a hard one to win for anybody.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Josie.
She froze.
No, Josie. It wasn't a good freezing spot either, is it? That's not a good
No, definitely wasn't.
The screenshot that.
We'll give her a second here. But Randy, yeah, it sounds to me like we have the exact same situation over there. And here's the problem. I know over here, and I'm praying to God that they're not doing this to Vinny like they did it on my case, but they use my criminal case to hold up the other case, to hold up this case. And even though they dismissed my charges, they had already found me guilty for the TPR, but then the same judge dismisses all the charges 2 weeks later. They seem to, even though they get you in for that first problem, once you're in there, they eliminate that first problem and they find a bunch more problems. Is that kind of like the way it is over there too?
Yeah, one of the ways they tell us over here is when they make mistakes or when they lie and do these crimes, you got to go through a complaint procedure. When you go through a complaint procedure, the longer the delay, the more time it gives them to manufacture more crimes against the parents. So they just keep more crimes or more concerns every time you go to a court, and they just make something else up. And the way they do it is when they actually meet up with you. You'll have a civilized conversation, no alarm, no distress, nothing whatsoever. But then they'll turn around and say that you intimidated them, you threatened them, they'll commit perjury.
Right.
Perjury is a common practice of these people.
Yeah, of course it is. And it is
Absolutely.
Here too. And they get away with it day in, day out, night in, night out. We've been talking a lot, Randy, about bonuses, incentives, money to pay, call it whatever you will. Some of us on the show feel like the incentives for adoption aren't really considered bonuses for taking kids. The other half of us feel like you're damn right, them being incentivized to adopt is the reason that they're taking those kids. I mean, why else would they be so aggressive towards these families and these children, otherwise to know that you're going to get a bonus? Like is that the truth to this? Is that what you know about the system and how are they actually getting money in the UK?
Yeah, that is actually what's known as now as fact findings. Okay, so it's not family court crap findings; it's fact findings.
Okay.
They do get bonuses. So I'll give you an example for bonuses. Social workers themselves get a share of the bonus for adoption, which is shared with the local authorities. For one child from a household, it's over £30,000. It changes depending on the town and city. The bigger the city, the more it is. It could go up to about £40,000 per child. Two
Holy,
children, it goes up to four children, it's over £90,000, and
oh my,
five children from the same household, it's known as it's negotiable. So these are business terms, and that's just one bonus that we're talking about.
wow.
We have the authorities where if they get a child and they put it in their care, they get £33,000 to look after them a week.
Holy.
So
Randy, how
I'll
much
give
is a pound? What's a pound in the American dollar?
a pound American dollar. I think it's about 150, 170 or something like that. I think it's closer to it's closer to 1.5.
So 3,300 pounds a week for the foster family?
Yeah, 33,000 a week just to keep them in care. That's not fostering and that's not adoption. So in American, you're probably looking at about $45,000 a week.
Just the idea is to come to the UK and foster some kids.
Yeah, pretty
That's,
much.
Yeah.
how is that not an incentive for people to push the get reunification out of the way, and we're going to hammer this kid into someplace, but not back home? Because imagine if they got $45,000 a week when they were trying to remove this family and break this family apart. Imagine if you gave that money to that family, what they could do to fix themselves.
So I just looked that up, pounds to US dollars, and it averages out at 43,012.20.
Jesus.
Well, there you go. But you got to understand that's like an interim payment.
Yeah.
So when they try to keep it in the interim side of it for as long as they can, because that's where one of the big monies is. When it goes into fostering, for example, permanent fostering, the foster carer will probably only get the council, the authorities get about between £7,000 and £8,000 a week, but they'll only pay the fostering about £600 to £700 a week. So they pocket the rest.
Okay, yeah.
But they pocket the rest, but this is also a way of controlling that they can steal that child back and give it to somebody who they know better, which is now what they're doing is they're taking all the private foster carers out of the equation. They're having their own corporate companies. So, for example, our social workers, team managers, they've got their own foster care homes as well. The directors have got foster care homes as well. The judges have got their own foster care homes. So they steal our children, let the authorities make their little cut, and then it goes into their foster care where they get about anywhere about £8,000 to £12,000 a month,
Jesus.
regular, and they'll take hundreds of children at a time.
Wow.
So when you talk about incentives, one child on an average is worth in UK for them to make over £4 million.
Holy.
Now, so if you talk about incentives, it's definitely incentives. I mean, I know social workers who've got yachts, mansions, care homes, left, right, and centre, and they just keep moving.
Yeah.
This is another pattern of the operation, shall we say. We caught what they were doing in 2014. And what happens when you catch a social worker committing perjury to steal a child? You put a complaint in, they just move her to another district to continue stealing other people's children.
Yeah, or give them a promotion. They do that a lot here. They give them promotions, get them into a different bracket of the same unit. Like they go from caseworker to manager now instead of, really disciplining them. That's so those numbers, man. We don't even come close to half of that. I don't think as far as that goes. So I'm almost maybe halfway the amounts. I'll look it up in a minute. But that's an insane amount of money, and I honestly don't blame all those involved. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of money. You know, when you've got
Extremely a lot of money.
right. I mean, it wouldn't even surprise me if maybe the older kids are. I don't know. That's a ton of money. $43,000.
I wonder in the UK, what does the UK do? Well, social services do with handicapped children or children with autism or something. What do they do with them?
Oh, that's even worse. Anybody who's vulnerable, who's got any form of disability, they are the target as well, because they not only get the bonuses that I'm talking about, on top of that, they get the extra bonuses because of their disabilities. So the price just goes up. Because don't forget, now it's not just a normal care home, it's actually like a medical center. So they put them there for extra nurses and all that, and yet they don't do nothing. So the figure just goes up with anybody with autism, PTSD, any form of disability. And they're literally targeted.
So I did look that up, and it says in Maine they make 25 to 75,000 per child.
Is that for disability, Vinny?
That's the going rate, anyways.
So that going rate must have been like maybe a bonus. That won't be full time, because if you yearly, it'll add up a lot more. But we've got issues, major issues, because when I first started blowing the whistle in 2020, I actually had calls from people from Canada, where there was a grandma reaching out. Where say again, Darren?
That's her. This is Josie. Josie's on this thing. That's the woman that you're talking about. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive.
Well, I still got the messages there. I just haven't checked. But from Canada, she lost her grandkids, and she reached out, and where she was at when she reached out, excuse me, she was looking for them, and she was told that the children were in the UK. So when she went to the registry office and to the department, obviously was responsible for, they told her the kids never even turned up in the UK. So this was a major flag, and this is one of the problems we have when they start shipping them throughout the world just to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And you've got to understand a lot.
Where are they going, Rangy? Where do they end up?
Epstein's Island, man.
Well, one thing I do know, because then you've got some links of what took place in the Ukraine war. Okay, so Ukraine did turn out to be the depot for United Kingdom, where they were trafficking children. So they were taken from the UK, taken them Ukraine, and I believe that was the same for America. And from there, they were dispersing them, because when Putin went in, we won't hear about this. It was on the Russian news. They actually rescued 2,000 children underneath the basements in Ukraine.
That's what this war is about over there. Is Putin had enough of the trafficking, but they're not going to tell you that.
Oh no, they don't want you to know.
No, this is all, the United States and the pedophile Biden that we have in the office here. And it's so funny, everybody turns a blind eye to the fact that the president of the United States, the White House, the symbol of the free world, is home to a freaking pedophile, and no one does anything about it.
Well, here everybody's stuck, because we don't care what title you got. We don't care what color, creed, religion you are. You get caught, we're going to rip you a new asshole. Don't give a damn.
I love it.
We don't. I'm not going to tolerate none of that. I've had a lot of issues through it. I've been petrol bombed. I've had my finger bit off nearly. My head smashed open. I keep moving time to time. They've tried to gag me last year. They're trying to take me to court in 3 weeks, trying to put me to jail so I don't speak up.
Right. Well, then you'll never.
And I'm not going to stay quiet.
Right. You need to. They put gag orders on you guys over there, right? If you're speaking too much, if you're in the case. Because are you in a case, Rangy? Did you been through a case? Have you been through a case?
Myself, yes.
About that.
Yeah, I actually went through a case, and right in the beginning, in the first 2 weeks of the involvement, I put a complaint in that the social workers haven't even been to see me or my children. They haven't even seen us. But they went and made a document called a Section 7 report. I was thinking to myself, how did you make a report when you haven't even spoken to us? So we knew there was an issue, but when I got the document, that's when I found out where they changed my medical history, you see, and they started manufacturing. So they told me to go through a complaint procedure, so that's separate. So my children, what they did is they went to see my daughter first, and instead of asking her what was happening, what they said to my daughter was, we know, they called her by her name, we know that your father's been beating you up. If you just tell us that, we'll sort him out and he doesn't need to know. And my daughter's confused, thinking, what's happened here? My dad's never said anything, never done anything. And they kept on doing things like that, goading my daughter, bullying her, intimidating her, going to the extent of to a 12-year-old child in 2014 telling her that sleeping around is okay, it's legal in the country. Adultery is okay, it's part of the law. And if the social workers went to her country, they'd have to follow the law in her country. Well, that was more confusing because I'm born-bred Englishman that happens to have a tan, you see. So my daughter's a third-generation English person, English youth, which was confusing. So we couldn't understand it. So what actually happened during this line, my daughter rang, as yours 911, but ours is 999. They rang 999, Childline, NSPCC, all the relative agencies that's supposed to protect our children. She rang them all in a period of 6 months to try to get some help and support, but no aid came. So what she did, she was that nervous, she decided every time when she felt scared, she would get her phone and just press record on it, just so she could show the social services that who's abusing her. But when I got the recordings, what we find is crimes that were taking place on my children in front of the perpetrator, where they were in the perpetrator's home, while the social worker sat in the very same room watching the crime happening, talking about the crime happening, but she goes and reports it's taking place in my home 25 miles away. So this is how bad it got to them. They didn't know what to do. And a lot of professionals who were involved in my case knew about this, which also broke silence and told them in the reports. In you complain, we have it stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and the ombudsman, the end, which is the top. So they already found in stage 2 that they have a preconceived view of Mr. Latif. They were biased, they've been mistreating me, they've been withholding information from the investigating team, and so on, a few more. And it was very, very concerning. Now, when it got to the ombudsman, which is the top dog, as soon as he realized that they were doing crimes on my children, he actually rang me up for the clarity. He goes, this recording, where was it made? I said, it wasn't made in my home. So he goes, okay, well, it's more concerning for me because crimes are taking place here on your kids in front of the social worker, but she's reporting it's taking place in your home. I said, well, what do you want me to say? Do your investigation. But what happened, the authorities rang him up and said to him that don't investigate it, the judge knows about it. Well, I've never spoke to no judge about it, so now they've framed the judges. Now, seeing as though they framed the judges, there was no point me banging on the same stupid doors again and again. Now in public to make a fucking mess of them. And now every judge who was involved has resigned. Every MP who's met me has resigned. Every chief commissioner of police has resigned. And so far, I think I'm on about 130 professionals. Once meeting me, they just get resigned. They just leave the department. So where's the justice? Where's the democracy? Where's the law? There is no law. It's a scam. It's a fraudulent scam. We go along with it because we are dictated to go along with it. The social services in UK, you must understand, it's a private corporate company owned by foreign internationals, which leads to Texas, and where you are, which is then owned and controlled by the Zionists. So we've been doing our research. We know what they're doing, but now we're fighting back. Now anybody wants to fight, come forward. Anybody wants to see any evidence of what I'm talking about, no problem. My evidence is actually already in America, because in 2020, I did a live with a young gentleman from America. The first man reached out to me to help and support. And when he seen 2 videos that I showed him, he was blown apart. He actually called in some journalist, radio station speaker. So we had a live conversation, had a little chat. That's actually on the LCS website as well. So what I did is, just for the safety of the information, I transferred and I passed him all the evidence, which I know landed on Donald Trump's table. But I never heard nothing from Donald Trump neither, because obviously you've got a mess down there yourself. So don't think that they're there and you've got to go along with this. We're at a point, we're already at a civil arrest. There's a big chance we may go into a civil war, but that's what they want. But we don't really have a choice, because 2 years ago there was an article in the government website where it was telling us that their targets for the future. So their target was for 2025 that they're going to be taking 2.5 million children. Just that 1 year. So where are these children going? One thing we do know, there is a whole lot of them that are not alive no more. So don't think that they're just being cared. They're not cared anywhere. We've got children who are then passed around foster care to foster care, where they're getting abused from one place to cover it up. They get raping our children. To cover it up, they'll pass them to another foster carer. Then they'll rape them. Then they'll pass them to another foster carers. It's a sick, sick situation we're in. And I'm not holding back, by the way, on your live, because I realized Josie was swearing. So I thought, well, if she can do all this, so can I.
Herbert.
Fucking A.
Mate.
Yeah, I got a mouth on me.
Nothing wrong with that.
So, you know, this is the reality. And if anything that I'm talking about, if anybody wants any evidence, I could make the arrangements. I could get this information to you. That's not a problem, because at the end of the day, the courts is a fraud. It's a delay. Now, you know, with Vinny, you know, he's got some good results there. I've seen hundreds of cases like that. And it's a delay process. And by the time it comes to a final hearing, you're back to square one, because it gives them time to make more crap on you. And you'll go through like this for year after year after year after year after year. We've even got evidence that they're goading our children against the parents, goading them, and then they alienate them against the parents deliberately. So I'll give you a live example. They'll arrange contacts, but they won't tell the parent, right? So the parent doesn't turn up because he doesn't know about it. So obviously when the parent finds out, he says, well, I didn't know about it, you need to rearrange it. They'll say, oh, well, the child doesn't want to see you, but they'll go to the child, your babies, and they'll say to them, oh, well, your mom and dad, they didn't come down because they don't want to see it anymore. They said, you're okay where you are. So talk about sick, sinister kind of a system. I'm hoping people paying attention, wake up. And if you want any evidence of what I'm saying again, and hopefully I don't have to keep repeating that, you need to see anything what I'm talking about, I'll send you it.
But you were lucky. You were lucky that the ombudsman listened to you, because I went to the ombudsman, and they wouldn't listen at all. They wouldn't even listen to my complaint.
No, but here's the thing, you see, I went to the ombudsman. He listened to me. In the first 5% of the information I provided, he's seen what I just told you, and then he left the department. So for me, to explain it simply, it's a process that you go up the ladder, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, all the way to the top. And eventually you'll come to a door, you knock on it, but there's nobody home.
Yeah.
But the door's open and you realize it's a fraud. It's a scam. They're stealing our children illegally because nobody's taken responsibility. And at that point, all they want to do is they get you attacked, which has happened a number of times. But I keep getting up. I've got strength. I've got my friends. I've got people like Durham. We all stick together and we just don't give a shit. I mean, actually, there was a video somebody said to me once. Well, somebody mentioned, this idea that don't poke the bear because he'll come back on you. Have you heard that saying? Yeah. So the big top boys. So I made it clear. So I'll make it clear here about what I said. I said I've got no intentions of sticking my little pinky up anybody's ass. I've got no intentions of doing that to anybody. But every single person who mistreated my children, my aim is to stick my whole arm up their asshole. You know what I mean? I'm not here playing games. This is our children. They want a fucking war, I'll give them it. And
Raggy,
this is why I'm...
I gotta agree with you, Raggy. I will poke that bear and I don't give a shit.
No, you can't. Look, at the end of the day, the more they try... And the problem that, Vinny, what you have, and most people have, when you're in that circumstances and they've got your child, they'll use your child against you as a weapon every day of the week. So you got to be very careful, protecting yourself in every way. But once you get out is when you could do something about it. But you're going to go through a nightmare by the time you get there. But then you've got to make a decision. Either you fight and save your kids, save a nation, save all your children around here and women, or you let them abuse a nation. And I said, fuck off.
Yep.
In our course, they've been doing symbols. I don't know whether you're getting it in your country. So they do symbols like this in the course, like that. And then there's one like that I've seen where two fingers are sticking up. So I make it very clear on my lives now, including that. I make it very clear on my lives. Now, we got a symbol for you, but it looks like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't care who you are. No, we're not going to be terrorized no more. This is regardless of color, creed, or religion. We're coming for them. And besides, they're not bothered what color, creed, religion we are. They're targeting everybody. They just see a child, they want to snatch it. And that time is over. So, I mean, I'm not going to be stopping, but I am going, before anything else happens, which obviously I was going through Durham earlier and a couple of days ago, I'm going to give them all the evidence because in a war like this, you need ammunition. And in this field, ammunition is knowledge and power. Knowledge is the power. Evidence is power. So I'm going to provide all the evidence and power to them just in case something happens. I'm hoping nothing's going to happen. I don't believe they're going to do anything because it was in 2021. It was funny, actually. It was shambles where there was a man called JJ. They took his 3 babies off him. He was at a point of committing suicide, and he reached out to me. So I obviously told him that, stay strong. If you do something to you, who's going to fight for your kids? Then your children are gone forever. So I gave him the strength to make sure he's all right and give him my support, even though he lived about 300 miles away. And then a year later, he gets raided at his home address by 12 armed officers with machine guns pointed to his head, and they take him into a secret base in Wales where he's interrogated by the MI5. So he's there for 3 days, for 72 hours. He comes out and he sends me a message, watch out about MI5. They know they don't like you or something. Well, I had the attitude there where I don't really care if they like me or don't like me. I'm fighting for my kids. If they've got an issue, fuck off. So I just ignored it. But 6 months later, he ended up going on a podcast, which was a guy from America. The podcast is called Blood Money Podcast. So he went on this podcast and he tells the guy his story. Now, this guy, you got to understand, he's a major in the military. And they didn't give a shit about took his kids because he got shot in the military and he had PTSD. So just for that reason, they've got his child or 3 children. So if you watch this podcast, I couldn't stop laughing because his story, I understand, I agree. But then he tells everybody in this podcast what they're saying about Mr. Latif. That was me. That what they're trying to say is because I'm not white, I'm Asian, and I happen to be a Muslim, that he could be building bombs. Do you think he's a terrorist? You know, what the fuck is that? The only bomb I'm going to make is the one to stick up your assholes, you know what I mean, to deal with you cunts. You know what I mean? I'm not a terrorist. So he made this video. Now, that video or audio is actually on my website as well, because everything that I'm getting now with what they're trying to do with me and people around me, I'm sticking it on. I don't give a damn who they are. I really don't. But one of the things I was looking to do, which I got overwhelmed with over now a year ago now, on the LCS News website, we were going to go live. And live, what I was going to start doing, I was going to start reporting on other people's cases because I already got people in America reaching out. Canada, New Zealand, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Germany, France, Australia, and another about 5, 6 others. And I thought, right, well,
but I wanted to do the same thing. Wanted to get people in, Darren too. You know, the problem is that when you're in it, you're scared to talk, and then then you're like, oh my God, if I talk, because you use it, right? But I mean, not everybody has the balls to talk like us. You know what I mean? So that's what's hard.
Yeah, well,
said there.
Josie, I never not had the balls.
I know too many women that are stuck in it that ask me for help, and I'm just like, well, share your story. Just stop. Just post your pictures. Blah blah blah. And they're like, I can't. They can't do it because they're like, my kid's in there, and they think that that's how it's going to come back. But I'm like, no, you got to do it. But
yeah, but
Josie, I wish I could get my friend Crystal on this show because you would be a big help to her. Like,
but let me tell you something. You know, when people have actually got children in the care and they're trying to go through contact, if you go public, they will use it against you as a weapon and they'll torture your kids behind the scenes. Okay. But one thing is for sure, I don't have an issue like that for anybody's story because there's a way, you know, have you heard the saying, there's 100 ways of skinning a cat?
There is.
Well, over the time when I'll be coming on, I'll be teaching you this. I'll show you this. So long as you do your safeguard and child protection, you could rip them all a new arsehole, which is the way I'm going to do it for every other country as well. I'll take on the stories, I'll protect their names and details, and I'll tell all the details about the case itself. I'll tell you which court case is, or which town it is, which court arena it is, which city it is, which social worker it is, and which judge it is. What are they going to do about it? Now, this is how it works. They can't do nothing. Why? Because I've been doing it up and down the country. If you watch my TikToks, you'll see it. I've been doing it up and down the country. I'm making a mess of everybody because, look, tomorrow, if they come to me and say, hey, you're slandering us, and they take me to court, well, that's all right, because what I'll do is I'll just take that case with me. I'll say, well, I couldn't speak about it out there, but here's that case. Who's slandering who? I'm not slandering you, but you are liars, criminals, and storytellers. Now what he's going to do? So now they don't want me to go to court because they know this. Because anytime they take me to court, they're fucked. And this is how you can go public every day of the week and twice on the weekend. I take the mick out of them. They're just full of crap. So it's something that you can do this. And if you can, now one of the things I'm going to advise, if you think that you're in that situation, I've only got a couple of weeks for this little carry on. Once I'm out of that little carry on, I'll show you how to do it and I'll do the stories for you for America. And I'll report it from my news channel about your cases in your town, expose every single one of them, and I'll give a reference number. So if anybody wants to learn more about it, they contact me. Let them come. Because one thing I've learned, when you stand up against these, they run like the dogs they are. They seem like wolves in sheep's clothing at first with our little babies, but when the grown-ups speak up, they run like the puppets.
Jesus, Darren, you should team up with Raggy over there.
Darren, did you watch that video at Leeds in the UK with the riots?
Yeah. Which one was that, Randy? Which one are you speaking of? 'Cause I got
Raggy was actually there.
Yeah, and the riots that took place before these riots, the social services one, I was actually there. My van was smack in the middle of it.
What is the message that you guys are trying to convey over there? Like, what is it that you guys are trying to promote to get the story out, to make them pay attention to what your message is? Like, what is your overall message for all these departments over there that, you know, can't listen to you or don't listen to you, or they've been whatever?
Look, I make it simple, and I offer this to anybody, regardless of the public or any professional bodies or corporate companies. It doesn't matter.
Right.
That there are rapes being taken place. Does anybody want to know more? Who's raping who? Grooming taking place. Does anybody want to learn who's doing that? Emotional abuse, psychological abuse. Now, if you look on the side of my van, it gives you a massive description of everything, and it tells you about social services, and it tells you about social services control judges and police with lies and stories. Does anybody want to know more? Please come forward. So in my early days, at the back end of 2021 it was, I actually started doing lectures. So I actually went to Birmingham, and I had a big massive stadium. There's about 150 people there, and I knew I had undercover coppers there and undercover MI5 there. But I'm not worried because I've got nothing to be worried about or scared about. So I did a presentation to them in front of everybody. And in front of everybody, 100% unanimous decision came forward. That is real, because I wasn't just talking about it. I was drip feeding it in a timeline, showing them the evidence. And by the end of it, I said, social services blame the judges. So now you tell me who's taking the rap. I said, MI5 know about it, but they staying silent. MI6 is doing it. I said, you know, the only person that hasn't been to see me now in the UK is what we say, 007. I said, where the fuck is he? Everybody else seems to know about it.
Fucking Bond.
Yeah, it's Mr. Bond, James Bond. I mean, it's just fairy tales. That's all they are. There's nothing real about them. But I do go to police departments. I'll give you an example. This just happened 3 weeks ago. It's you haven't got the recording for inside. I've got it still on my body cam. But I went to a police department where, see, I'm constantly, when you're in this situation, you get attacked all the time. So there's public members who have linked up, family, friends, associates, or part of a paedophile ring, come together. So they started to frame me for crimes on public media and saying, he's a paedophile, he's this, he's that. And the way they did it was they copied and pasted somebody's crimes in court, took their name on and stuck my name on it. And they presented that information just to get me targeted. So I went to this police station where on public media, I mean, the same person also has arranged to get me shot, but nobody wants to know about it. So I went to this police station where there's 6 warrants for my arrest, allegedly, and 69 convictions or crimes that I've allegedly done. I've never heard of, but okay. So I walk in with 2 colleagues, said to the guy at the front desk, I said, look, I said, I need to speak to somebody because I'm actually here to report some crimes. But you'll need to get somebody in charge because you allegedly have got 6 warrants for my arrest. You got 69 convictions of me from being a child trafficker, raping children, so on, so on, so on, so on. I said, so what are you going to do? I said, well, either way today, somebody's going to jail. So what he did, he goes, what's your name? So I give him all my name, details, date of birth, address, everything. He went to the back. 20 minutes later, he comes to the front. He goes, Mr. Latif, we can't speak to you. We got nobody in our department to help and support you. You need to go out of the building. In a way, leave us alone. You know what I mean? And if you want to report a crime, go report it online. Now, this is a main police department where they've got prison cells built in in Manchester, and yet the whole department shut down. I mean, what is this? Because they know that it doesn't matter what crime I report, it's going to lead back down to social services and the police and the judges. And I don't care. And I've actually got evidence of the MPs and councillors where their nephews and uncles have been raping other people's daughters as kids, 12-year-old, 11-year-old. So they want to stay silent. They just don't want to. What are you supposed to do at that point? But you got to keep pressing. You got to keep. I treat everybody independently. I don't. I don't believe in making it look like we're against everybody. So when I see a police officer, I'm transparent. I've come here to report crimes. As soon as I give them my name, that's it. It's game over. So usually, once I tried it, and this was in 2019, where I didn't give him my name. I rang him up. I said, I need to speak to somebody. This is in another city, by the way, not where I am, because they're corrupt. So I rang him up. I said, no. I said, I'm coming to this department. I want to report information of child sexual abuse. He goes, what's your name? I said, I can't give you my name. I'm fear of my life. I just want to know, will somebody be available to take my concerns? He goes, yes. So I went there. So the guy, somebody was at the front, and I walked in, and he goes, are you looking for somebody? I said, no. I said, I'm actually hoping somebody's looking for me because I've made an appointment. He goes, are you here to report some crimes of child sexual abuse? I said, that's the one. So I never still gave him my details, walked into the room, private room, and I didn't tell him my details at all, even till the end. Right. I started telling him the information of what I know with evidence, stage by stage by stage. I had my computer with us. I played him some of the horrific crimes that were taking place. By the time I was done with him, I had to show him some documents, which I showed him. That's when he realized I wasn't from that area. I was from a different district. So he said to me, he goes, Mr. Lateef, one thing I could tell you, if you were in my district, I wouldn't need my superiors to tell me anything. I'd be blowing the whistle right now because you presented me information that I can't dispute, evidence that I cannot dispute. This needs to go to a public inquiry. I said, so what do you want me to do next? He goes, you go home. I'm going to ring you tomorrow. I said, listen, I'm going to go home, but I'm a little bit nervous because I believe that you're going to get sacked. He goes, nobody's going to fucking sack me. I said, all right. So, the next day he rang me up and he goes, Mr. Lateef, you were right. He goes, I brought this up to my sergeant because he kept some of my evidence, photocopied it to show him it. He goes, you were right. There are people right now threatening me that I need to stay silent. And I refuse to stay silent. So I'm going to report this and send it to your department. And hopefully they'll pick it up. And that was in 2019. Nobody's still been to see me. So when you've got evidence, you could beat them with a stick every day of the week. And I'm about to do that on the 6th of September in the courts to the judges.
That is why you screenshot everything.
Oh, I've done more than that. For me, I've done everything years ago because I knew what I was heading for. And that's why when somebody wants the evidence, I just pass it. Because if everybody... See, having the evidence is one thing. But if you don't know how to put it in timeline, that's the difficult bit. So hopefully I'll be teaching my whole team about this whole case with evidence in a timeline. Because if anything happens, anybody could deal with it.
Yeah, I got a timeline too, so I know what happened. I know when it happened. I've put 2 and 2 together now, and I'm seeing the full-on case, and I'm just like, wow, And I talked to Darren at length about it today, and Darren's seeing the same thing I'm seeing.
Right, listen, I know I've got Josie there. I've got another young man there, but I haven't introduced myself, or I don't know who it is. Maybe I can introduce myself.
Herbert. Herbert, that's Ranji right there.
Robert.
Hi, man. Herbert.
Hi, Robert. You okay?
Herbert, where's he gone?
Oh, Herbert is kind of shy sometimes.
Is he?
No, he froze up. I think.
How can he be shy when he's
Ah,
an
Josie, that's a good one. That's funny.
So
There you
if there's
go.
any questions that you want to ask, feel free to do so because there is a lot going on.
Well, Randy, it's
There's a
funny
lot.
because Josie's from Canada and she's a grandma that just fought for her child. And I thought sure that you probably had to have run into her on TikTok or something. So when you were saying that earlier, I thought that was like, that's got to be Josie. Close enough, but not really quite her. But
Oh, I follow him on TikTok though for sure. Like I
Yeah.
follow you. I see your TikToks lives. I watch you, so I know who you are. But
My
Oh,
life's
good.
Gerard's my life's only just finished, Longy.
Yeah, no, Gerard talks too much.
Fucking hell, he had talking him and Gemma.
don't be
Jibber
shy,
jabber.
Herbert.
Don't be.
They kicked
Herbert,
me
brother,
off.
how are you?
Hey, they kicked me off. I came back on again.
No, I'll apologize for their behalf. They didn't mean it.
No, it's
How are you,
okay.
young man? You okay?
Yeah, man. Salam alaikum to you.
Walaikum salam, brother. But if there's anything you might want to ask me for what we've been talking about, feel free to do so.
Yeah, I got a question. What is the interaction of the police with the CPS or caseworkers?
You mean social services, our end?
Social services, yeah.
yeah.
How does the police get?
Yeah.
How does the police get involved with social services?
To give you in a nutshell, on the back of my van, it says, I'm just a dad. I need your help and support to take out the trash. Horn if I have your support. Every time coppers go past, doot, 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 doot. They love what I'm doing because what they can't do, I can.
They don't like getting involved with it, to be honest with you.
They don't
So you're
like getting
saying that-
involved.
No, they don't like getting involved with it. They're just there in case of breach of peace, that's all.
So police also have had their children taken away too, but they can't say
Yeah.
nothing. That what you're saying?
Pretty
Yes.
much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the police have allowed me to do what I want, go and do whatever damage I need to do to get the job done. And I don't know many
Okay.
people like myself in the country.
Okay, because you're fighting on their behalf too, because they have lost children to the system.
Yeah, and social services who have been speaking up, they've been getting targeted. So I'm supporting them as well because see, for me, I don't look at the titles neither. All I know is anybody's child in the system, in these problems, I'm going to speak up about. If anybody's got a problem with me on the LCS news, there's a complaint procedure. Fuck off over there and put a complaint in. See, isn't this what they make us do?
Yeah.
Works both ways, man.
Sure.
So the mess us about and they say go through a complaint procedure. I do the same to them now. I say go put a complaint in.
And they want you
Yeah.
to go through the proper channels because they know that those channels are not going to get you anywhere, and they control those channels.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
this is the thing, you see. I've duplicated my complaint procedure like their channels, you see. So I'll give you the description. I will be recruiting a lot more people, yes. In a department, let's say there's about 80 or 100 people working in there. It's what's known as passing the buck along. So they've got the information. They say, oh, it's a complaint. I've gone on the sick. Somebody else is taking it on. And they keep doing that month after a month, month after a month, until they run out of social workers. Okay, which in general for me it lasted 4 years. So what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to recruit 1,000 to 15,000 people that want to be part of a complaint procedure. So when they put a complaint on, we could just pass them around for about 1,000 years. You know, if that's what they could do, we could do the same thing.
You've got to play these at their own game, basically.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
Definitely.
100%. But the fight must go on. You can't, we don't take a day off. There is no days off.
Definitely
Every single day. Sorry?
Definitely not, seeing as how I find new stuff every single day about them.
Well, after a while, when you know everything, or majority of it, you think, no point holding back. It's about time we move forward.
Yep.
You know what I mean? and you take the fight on. So I'm a little bit blessed now, where I wasn't a while ago. I've actually got a team building around everywhere, which is a good thing. Including Australia, I'm taking a couple of people off there as well, because I'm also making them part of LCS News, and I'm getting them the journalist badges from LCS News. So it doesn't matter which country they are, they'll get the badges from us. They can report live, and everything they do, they send us it, we'll put it on our website.
Yeah,
So everybody gets to see it.
Australia is pretty bad. Like Australia is pretty bad.
Oh, it's mayhem. It was 2.5 years ago. They rang me up, messaged me. We'll pay for your flights, everything. Come over here. I said I can't come over. I said I've got a freaking mess in my own country. I said, but what I will do is I'll fight your fight from over here. You know what I mean? And that's why at the time I was doing more and more with the website. Now we've got to such a point that I'm just waiting to start taking the stories on. But on an average, last 3 years, I've gone through nearly 10,000 victims, 10,000 homes. And that's me personally, not including my team right now. My team right now, they've been picking up cases every single day for months. And it doesn't stop. As soon as they put the computer down, they wake up in the morning, it's like bing, 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 bing. It's like, oh shit. 15 to 20% of them cases is got to do with rapes.
Yeah.
That have been covered up. So we got to do something. My biggest shortfall is funding. Because for the last 4 years, I've been funding everything myself, the website, the lot, the traveling. And don't get me wrong. I mean, even my team knows about it. Even though I've spent about between 45, 50,000 pounds, I don't care because it's worth it. Why? Because I'm fighting for our children. Can you put a value on a child? And we haven't got one child here. We've got millions of children here. So if I had more money, I mean, you're talking about TikTok, Josie, I'd be making a mess for the world to see. Because you got to make a mess. When you're speaking up the truth, you stand up. You know what I mean? We're doing the job like patriots, exactly like what you're doing. Like we're patriots. Don't be thinking that you're anything less. The military goes out to what for? To protect the nation. Well, if our nation's in jeopardy, it's our job to do it. Actually, on that note, I did have somebody who questioned me a couple of months back. They said, hey, because I'm a Muslim, I'm born and bred Englishman, but a Muslim. They said, listen, what if we were getting attacked by a Muslim country? Because my heritage is from Pakistan. They said Pakistan. And I said, well, I'd have to follow the Quran. He goes, what? Would you attack us? I said, where the fuck does it say that? So in the Quran, what it says, that wherever you are, if you're invaded, you're obligated and your duty as a citizen, as your right, is go to the beachfront like with everybody else, get a machine gun, shoulder to shoulder, to defend off anybody who comes towards your home. Yeah. Full stop. But it's a little bit more, you see, because I believe in the Quran. It says, but if your own start robbing, raping, murdering, stealing children, all you do is you get that rifle, you turn it around towards them. And that's what I've actually done right now. I'm coming for every single person in the country, judge or no judge, solicitors, barristers. I don't give a monkey's ass if you call yourself police officers and you got titles. Whether you're family, friend, it doesn't matter. And we're going to come. What are you going to do about it? We're going to fight. We've got evidence. So this is just the way I see it. And that's the way to, that's how I, do what I'm doing. Because that's how I believe. I'm not worried about nothing else. And you know, this problem that is happening, it is quite troubling. I mean, Darren mentioned it in a nutshell. This is child trafficking. It just, I normally don't talk about child trafficking because a lot of people are layman languages. So I start teaching them how they steal the children to begin with. When they acknowledge that, then you could go into child trafficking. And you see, then from that point, you could go into what they're doing to our children. Robbing, raping, murdering, drinking their bloods, organ harvesting. You don't go into all that because then it starts looking like a conspiracy.
Yeah,
So
you
you
don't
need
want
to.
you don't want to
Then,
just jump right in on that stuff. You'll push them right away from you.
Yeah, you
then,
push them
then,
away.
then you got the of course the psychotropic drugs that they're giving our children.
Well, Chris, what do
Forcefully
you
drugging.
yeah, Chris, what do you know about the psychotropic drug stuff?
Yeah, they did a lot of that to me. In my time in foster care, the forceful drugging went on literally from the beginning until just about the end, and the same with all the other kids that I interacted with. It's a business of forcefully drugging children into either compliance or acceptance of their abuse and their neglect and their circumstances. But the main goal of it is to maximize the profits of all of the people who are involved in that child's life. And that's the psychiatrists make money, the therapists make money, the caseworkers make money, and then the foster parents, they actually make usually double as much money per child if that child has some sort of condition. And then the agencies themselves can actually pull additional funding from the federal government for each child that they deem is disabled in any form or fashion.
Wow.
Chris, I mean, what is the figures that you're coming up with for a standard child yearly, including maybe adoption?
Oh, you mean like the amount of children that are drugged?
No, how much money they make on per child in their care?
Oh yeah, that was actually, those numbers have recently been coming up, but it's roughly $300,000 a year per child is what they're making total collectively off of each kid. Whether it be one person or another.
Well, they make that in about a month over here.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, I
Hey,
mean,
you know,
what it is, it's 300,000 a year. Is a total for all the people who get paid off of that child being in there. There's a lot of jobs involved. A lot of people's lives and jobs are dependent on having these children in care and having more and more of these children in care. Because like with any business, you've got to continue to have a product in order to continue to have your profit. And that product is our kids. That product is our offspring. It's a violation of our reproductive rights. I mean, that we created these children for our own, benefits and legacy and life. And we dedicated our lives to these kids. And then for an outside entity to come in and interfere with us being able to care for our children and put them into an abusive, neglectful, exploitative position, regardless of what that is, it's absolutely criminal. It is criminal. There's no way about it. Any crime that's done against a child is a crime in itself. And these people are committing crimes against thousands of children every single day throughout this country and throughout the world. It's something that we know to exist in every part of every English speaking country, for one. And we know that some of these non-English speaking countries are dealing with it as well, because people from those countries are reaching out to us and trying to get us to understand that it's happening there too. So the fact is we know that there is a multinational, international business of child trafficking, and it's based off of the deprivations of basic human rights of the adults and the child, and it's for the purposes of generating all sorts of revenue for governmental agencies, for private corporations, and for private individuals off of the suffering of ourselves and our offspring. And that said, knowing this, that means that we're at war. We are completely at war. And it's not a war that we initiated, but it's a war that we found ourselves in. And once we recognize that we are at war, that there is an external factor involved that is targeting individuals so that they can steal their children away, and they do it to any vulnerable person, and all manner of things can make you vulnerable. You don't have to actually do anything wrong to lose your kids. And the fact that we know that our courts do not support the family. We know this. The courts throughout the world are not supporting the family. If they were, we wouldn't have these problems. There's so many ways that our governments and our courts could assist families and help families grow and be strengthened. But instead, they split families apart. They pit them against each other. They steal kids away. They destroy lives on purpose and for profit. And it all has to do with these bar associations. Throughout the world, The bar associations are infiltrating governments, and they are instituting statutes, codes, and ordinances, and enforcing these statutes, codes, and ordinances throughout the world that violate people's rights for profit. They steal kids away through executive orders, but all of these things that are being done, it all stems from, and it bases to the bar associations. The bar associations have infiltrated these different levels of government throughout the world, and they're changing the laws and they're changing the customs so that bar association members can profit off of the suffering of people worldwide. And we recognize them as an enemy, and recognize that another enemy is our major political parties. That throughout the world, the major political parties have been infiltrated by the World Economic Forum and central banking. Central banking has taken control of our governments, and central banking's goal is to maximize profits. They're all about maximizing profits so that the banks can get paid back off of whatever suffering and things that are being done to the people of that nation. Central banking enslaves nations.
Well, I have a question. Does anybody know how it works in Russia? Like, what are social services like in Russia?
Well, what I do know is that Vladimir is very strongly against child trafficking.
Right.
And a lot of his efforts that he's doing are supposedly to battle human trafficking that's going on. Now these are rumors. I have no.
But exactly, I know he's against human trafficking, but is it is it still present in his country? Kind of thing. We don't know. We don't have the numbers, do we?
With what you've said, Josie, it probably is taking place, but not at the scale of what's taking place where we are, where you are. Okay, it's something that he doesn't tolerate, but we know this simply because there's a lot of people fleeing the Western nations and moving to Russia. It's actually a safe haven. Russia's actually taken, and he's actually made a video. He's made it public that anybody that wants to flee the Western nations of the abuse in this sense, they're more than welcome to come there and live as a citizen there. I know loads of families that have gone there. So it is a safer place than here, 100%. So we won't take out.
And what about in the UK? I got another question. In the UK, what about birth alerts? How often are those happening?
Birth.
Like at birth, because my granddaughter was taken directly from the hospital at 3 days old.
That's way through the mark. That's just common practice now.
Okay, so it's still happening in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in a big way.
Yeah,
every day.
There's one the other day. Just a couple of days ago, and it went viral. But she was in the hospital. She had no social services involvement whatsoever. She hadn't done anything wrong. It was a black lady. She happened to be breastfeeding, and she lay on the bed and went to sleep with the bed. And the next thing you know, the nurse is ringing social services, and that child is now in care. And she hadn't done a thing wrong. Literally not a thing wrong.
Now, we lose on an average of 3,000 children a day.
Jesus. There's one every 15 minutes.
A minute, I think, is the number that we've come up with.
One every 15 minutes.
Next year is going to be bad. But that's also going to be bad for America as well, because the targets are the same everywhere.
Because it's global fucking.
But what are you actually doing in America to either combat this and to make public awareness?
Well, I'll speak for myself on that one. To combat it on my story, I have not given up. I've been pretty pursuant. I've even filed under due process of law 1983, and I served every single one of them under that law, and they're all starting to see that I am not playing.
Yeah, but that's in the courts. But what are you doing for the massive?
Oh, I share my stories out there. I post everything that I find on CPS. I've been reading their policies and procedures, and putting them out there on what they're violating.
I'm just thinking, if it was possible, would it help if somebody mad like me turns up with a lorry and travels the whole country? Because we need to wake the public up. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
And I'm seeing
Well-
more and more of it because with the psychotropic lawsuit that's going on right now, I mean, they're really under scrutiny. They really are.
Yeah, that scrutiny doesn't make any difference. They'll go through scrutiny. They'll say, "Oh, whatever. Yeah, sorry," and they're back to square one.
Yeah, but
Nothing
this is,
changes.
I don't know if they're gonna let that pass this time because this is the fourth time in 4 years that it's happened.
Brother, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is like you did mass demonstrations in the UK. Am I correct?
Well,
you do? You said
have you ever watched
didn't
any
you
of my
mention-
TikToks?
Didn't you
Have you
mention
ever
that you
watched
did?
what I've been doing? Yeah,
Didn't you
demonstrations.
mention?
Now, I do demonstrations every other day, but it's the way I do it. Have you ever seen any of what I've been doing? I'm just asking. Have you ever seen Josie? Did maybe if Josie shares here?
I seen your truck. I know you drive around with a big truck with like writing on it saying that family court is corrupt and blah blah blah, and you're explaining it, and you do TikToks, but I haven't seen like.
Yeah, there was a protest in London. Rangi was at. There's another one going to be in Manchester on the 31st of August, and then there's another one on the next near where we live on the 21st of September.
Yeah, see, the reason why I'm asking, because I mean, it was a few months ago when I did, the team came together and I did a 30-day tour, and I went to city to city to city to city for 30 days. And in that 30 days, just on my own for what I did, I woke up 500,000 people. And everywhere I went, I had police officers asking me questions, social workers, professionals in different backgrounds, and I was putting them all out of their misery. So I'm thinking,
what you've been doing is very similar to that of what Chris has been doing. I know Chris was in Washington D.C. Am I correct, Chris? And
Yeah, I spent
he tried to raise attention. Chris tried to raise attention and tried to bring out what's going on, but we're not getting a lot of people following. It's like the big elephant in the room, but nobody sees it.
Yeah, it's very hard. Our politicians, they don't want to talk about it. But what I do know, and this is what has happened, while I was in D.C., Paris Hilton was before the Ways and Means Committee. And she was discussing some of these things that are happening in foster care after the fact. She wasn't discussing how these kids get there in the first place, but she was talking about the abuse and things that are happening after the fact. So I do know that the Ways and Means Committee has been talking about a lot of these things that we discuss. But the topic that it's a topic that none of the major political presidential candidates, none of them yet are talking about the child theft in America that's being done by judges. And that's a big issue. And I feel like what I'm working on now is trying to get a hold of these campaigns and say, hey, why aren't you talking about that? But what we do know is that, again, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party in this country, these are the standing major political parties. And these parties have been working together to create all of these possibilities for children to be stolen. They're the ones who created the possibilities, run the organizations that do the stealing. They're the ones who have the power to stop it, and they don't, because they're in on it, and it's part of their business and their commerce. And so
that's exactly what my TikTok was today. I said, doesn't and me and Herbert had this conversation, and I did a TikTok on it, and I said, why is it that politicians never, regarding no matter where you are on this political spectrum, they never talk about kids in foster care or former foster care or like their services. Nobody talks about it. You know,
it's a subject nobody wants to talk about because these politicians know that these children are being stolen for without good cause. They know that those children are being used and abused. Now there is a video that you'll be able to find. It was Senator Josh Hawley, and I believe it was in January of this year, and he calls out the director of Health and Human Services in New York for the children who are being sex trafficked and being forced into labor in New York that he became aware of. But when you watch that video, and you can find it on YouTube, just search Senator Josh Hawley, HHS, you'll be able to find it. When you look at that video, you'll see that this woman is being called out in the Congress for crimes against humanity. And what you don't see is her being arrested. She is not arrested. We do not see these people arrested for these crimes. The Health and Human Services Director, I believe it was today, of Oklahoma, she stepped down today. She stepped down. She quit today. Now, that said, some other crooked person is probably going to take her place, and she wasn't arrested. And that's the thing that we have to recognize, is that when we think that we're seeing something, when people get ripped out of these positions of power, all that ends up happening is the machine's still going. The machine has to find somebody to fit in there, and they're just going to find another person who's exactly the same puzzle piece. As it stands right now, we have trickle down deception and trickle down corruption. And when you have a corrupt individual at the very highest position of power within a country, and this is happening all over the world because the World Economic Forum is putting in presidents that they want throughout the world. They're putting in people who support the policies of central banking and who are paid off by the central bankers in order to support those policies. So, and these are things that we know to be happening. But these people that they control are parts of, they are members of these major political parties worldwide. And if we separate ourselves and we come together as a people in each of our individual countries and as a people of the world, and we say that we recognize our major political parties and our central banking system is responsible for the slavery that we are experiencing and the slavery that our children are being subjected to, and we no longer will accept any more of it. But we have to come together as a people, and we've got to find a way to get people who aren't affected to give a shit. Because the problem, a lot of the problem is they have these atrocities affect a small enough number of people so that we don't have a majority to be able to do any damage or make any type of impact. And so they keep that population at maybe a 10% or lower so that it's not a majority population. And so the majority of the population is just like, there's no way this is happening. This isn't real. And so if we can get that other part of the population to recognize that we have been victims and they need to care about this before they become victims too, then we can start building up the type of numbers that we need in order to take back our countries. But in the meantime, we have to vote away from any major political party, because we know that these political parties, these major political parties, have been working against us, and they've been doing it for hundreds of years. It's just so easy to tell, and there's no way around it. If we want to stand together and firm on our beliefs, we have to stand together and stand firm on someone with integrity, a person who is and who represents us and our beliefs, and who's looking out for transparency in government, because it's the lack of transparency in government that we've had that's allowed these things to continue and be able to keep the general public in the dark about everything. And that again goes back to central banking, but in that case it's the media. So the media is controlled by central banking, our medical services are controlled by central banking, our governments are being controlled by central banking, and all of the major corporations are being controlled by central banking, which means we are controlled by central banking. And until we abolish central banking, we are still going to be slaves in some form or another. Where's the money? It comes from the Fed.
Right. What I'm going to suggest, because I agree with what you're saying, because you're talking about it's like our parliament and MPs and councillors. So to give you an example, I don't do none of that. Because what's the point of knocking on a front door that it goes or falls on deaf ears? So I don't waste my time with that. For me, the power is in within the people.
That's
So
it.
I go town to town, city to city, broadcast it, I let everybody know, and I've been continuously doing it for the last 4 years. Now when I turn up, I'll do a lecture. Who for? The public. It's the authorities that want to sneak in like the wolves and the dogs that they are, which I've got no issues with, because my job is to wake the public up. Because once the public acknowledges it with facts, with figures, with evidence, then it's showtime. You see?
Unfortunately, that's actually already happened in this country. We had a United States senator named Nancy Schaefer, and she had all the facts, all the numbers, all the proof and evidence, all the testimonies necessary to be able to change this. She had a grand jury that was set up. She was supposed to testify before that grand jury. It would have ended all of this. She was publicly speaking about corruption. She wrote a report called The Corrupt Business of Child Protective Services, and she went on a nationwide campaign to expose the corruption that was happening in the United States. But then what happened to her is days before she was supposed to testify before the grand jury, her and her husband were found dead in their home. And, and so that is what happens in the United States of America. When you try to fight against these human traffickers, they send people out to your home to murder you and make it look like a suicide, or at least pretend. And then they pay off whoever these law enforcement agencies are that are investigating to make sure that nothing says anything else, no matter how much evidence there is to the contrary. It will always say that it was a suicide. You will be discredited in your death, and you will never, ever be able to your discrediting continues. But you can find those reports that Nancy Schaefer wrote on the internet. You can find those lectures that she did on the internet. But she was a United States senator. All right. She was in one of the highest positions of power in the United States of America. There's only one position of power higher than that. And that said, being a United States senator, how they dealt with her was telling her to shut up, and then they killed her because she didn't.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm looking at it as see, like me, I'm not a senator, but I'm doing the same job. I'm not a prime minister here. I'm not an MP. I'm just a dad.
Right.
And the more I go out and do what I'm doing, the more mums and dads are waking up.
Well, that's
Because
the problem with our parliament, and that's the problem with our our Congress here, is that these people, these Congresses.
Yeah, I don't
Guys
know what the
there?
hell happened there, but we're back.
All right. So yeah. So like I was saying,
That was weird.
Yeah, these Congresses, these parliaments, they're made up of
They did it to us.
people who are not. They're not like us. They are people they've always been elites. They went to elitist schools. They've always worked in politics. Their families have been in this business of slavery for years. We recognize that all of our countries, they were founded on slavery. They were founded by people who were in the business of slavery. And these people who are running these governments are inbred people who have been running these governments for quite some time. And the least represented person inside of any of these Congresses is the poor. There's not a single poor person within these Congresses or parliaments. There's not a single CPS victim in these Congresses and parliaments. These aren't regular dads, regular people. These are people who are not like us. And how could they possibly ever represent us? And that's one of the issues that we've got right now, is that these governments are being controlled by people who are not like us and do not represent us. And as long as we continue to vote for these people, we are choosing our slavery. We're choosing our slavery as long as we comply. And we continue to say, yes, we're going to go with that one, and we're going to go with that one, knowing that both of them are bad, knowing that neither of them is like us.
No, I understand. You see, so I'll give you an example of what I've been doing. Because I don't care about the Congress, like your Congress. I don't care about my Parliament, because I know they're all corrupt. So why would I want to waste my time with it? It's falling on deaf ears, shall we say. So what I do is I actually go to every mosque, every church, every Sikh temple, every community center. I go where the problems are. So I go to every single place and I do a lecture. I talk about it and I wake them up, because what you will find is in every state or in every town and city, whatever it's called over your end, you'll find not hundreds but thousands of people who've been affected. They don't have a voice. They're being silenced. They stay quiet. To wake them up, what I do is I go down, I make myself available. On my own, I just go down there, I pack my van up, I make a video, I release it, and I stay there for about 8 to 10 hours every day in a different town and city. This way it gives people time to come forward. On top of that, when we share it, it starts going out. When it goes out, they realize, hey, I mean, I don't live in Manchester, and they'll see me in Manchester and they'll say, wow, hang on, he's speaking up about it and he's in Manchester, so I'm not on my own. So he'll want to contact me. Then another one will contact me. And slowly but surely, what you'll find is a gathering from every state, every town, every city, every village will start coming together. Because don't forget, this is not just happening now. This has been happening for decades. So you're going to find frigging up millions of people, and especially in America, it's a lot bigger than here. You're going to find a shitload of people that will come forward, because what they're looking for is a voice, because everybody's been suppressed, everybody's been silenced. So if you can find a voice that is going out, doing that, you'll wake the public up in each town and city. So for example, I mean, one of the things I could do from here, once I get sorted, every town and city you got an issue with, I'll do a little video for it. I'll send it. I'll even share it down in America, because I've got loads of groups. I'll share it. And then it'll hit the people in that area. When they see it, it'll make them understand, hang on, we're not alone. Because the problem is everybody thinks they're alone.
Exactly.
Fuck the top people. They don't give a shit. Like you said, they're not affected by it. They're part of the elite shit, and we don't give a damn about it. So this is the way I've been doing it in UK. I mean, now literally we have millions that have woke up in the landmass that we have, millions. Because the video does a lot more damage. You don't have to be there every day. It just needs to be shared out. Because then the more people see, they think, fucking hell, it's happening in my town. Even then, the curious ones, you've heard about curiosity kill the cat. Well, we've got a saying in England, curiosity kill the cats, bring them forward, let me slaughter them for you. Let me put you out of your misery. You know what I mean? And then they join the lives. Then the masses start joining the lives. They listen to what we got to say. And I'm talking about their towns. See, actually, I'm just talking, but they know, wow, hang on, what he's saying, that's happening in my town. It's happening to me. I'm not on my own. I need some help, because don't forget, every parent is suffering. They want to be reached out. They want that help and support. And then you got to tackle the community separate. So I go to mosques separately. I go to the mosques, I do a talk there, I wake the imam up, I remind him what the Quran says, I go to the churches, I remind him what the Bible says, I go to the Sikh temple, I remind them what their book says, you know what I mean? And just as humans, because there's victims in all walks of life, then victims come forward, then they come to the mosque, they come to the church. He's right. We are. This is what we're going through. I'm going through this. I'm going through this. Because there's so many victims that will be going to church. But through embarrassment, God knows why they're embarrassed, they don't want to speak up, because they feel like they're isolated, they're on their own, the words will fall on deaf ears. We just need to remind them they're not forgotten about and they're not on their own. We will speak for them. And this is what I was thinking about. Nothing to do with the top. I've never ever gone to the top no more, because every time I go to the top, they go on the sick. I mean, right now, I think my whole team takes the piss out of the government. They say, if you want your MP to go on the sick, send Rangi down. It's the Rangdemic. I go down there and they go on the sick. So we're taking the piss out of them. But we've got to keep the fight on. But it's the public to wake them up. If you wake the public up in every town and city, what you'll find hundreds, if not tens of thousands of people will come forward in every town and city. Then who cares about your top dogs? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, well, it's
Because-
the hard part in this country is, yes, we are spread out. Like you said, we are very spread out. And they've put our United States Capitol on one side of the country, far away from half of the population, if not more than half of the population. And they put it there on purpose so that it's not easy for everybody to get to. It's really not. It's very difficult. But then once you get there, it's not very welcoming either. It's a very unwelcoming place. But when we go around and we recognize that these are happening all over the country, the hard part is that like you said, people are silenced. People are scared. People are terrified in their homes. So many bad things have already happened. Their children are already in a dangerous situation. They're afraid that their circumstances are going to get worse. People are repeatedly being arrested for speaking out about these things. I was personally arrested for speaking out. I know at least a half dozen or more people who've been arrested for speaking out, and it's a regular occurrence. When we go out in public, I mean, mind you, I was able to get away with a megaphone in front of a courthouse and a sheriff's department and a town plaza, but I wasn't able to get away with it at the Lincoln Memorial. But going out there and trying to gather the masses and educate the masses and doing that, the problem is a lot of these people are just so wrapped up in their own bullshit and everything else that they got going on. They just don't have anything left to fucking care about the kids in this country, which is sad. It's really sad. And these kids of the world who are dealing with all these same issues of being stolen and exploited. It's sick. And, trying to get a massive group of people together in any one place has proven to be exceptionally difficult. No matter how much we talk about these things and recognize these things, people are scared to get out of their home. They're scared to step out. They're scared to be seen. They're scared. Everybody's freaking scared. And, how do we encourage people and strengthen people without just ripping them out of their homes? I've been trying to figure that out. How can we get enough people?
One of the things I'm going to suggest is, I mean, we've got a similar structure like yours. Our parliament is on the other end of the country. But I think you're thinking about getting the masses to go to the capital. Fuck the capital. Focus on one thing that I think about, okay? Is every town, every city, start waking people up there, because that's where the masses are. That's where the victims are. When it comes to the capital, I mean, I did London about a month ago, okay? So I went to London. I went on my own. Yeah, there was a good few people there. But what you do there, see what I did, when we got there, we actually shut a bridge down. I went there with my van, I put a brake on, and I pretended it was broken down. We stopped the whole bridge, and we did a protest. But the video went viral. Everybody's video went viral.
Where was everybody at DC? That's one of the things I wanted to do at DC.
Do you know what they do in Canada if we do that, man?
What will they do in Canada?
Oh my God, man. They would put me to jail. They would beat me. No, man. We can't do protests in Canada, man.
Wow.
Really that bad?
Well, you can't do it in the United States either, right, Chris?
Well,
I mean,
there's three
video,
states
you
right
see
now in
video
the
on
United
TikTok?
States. Yeah, Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. If you have there are no gatherings of more than 25 people in public, period. It's like they do not, mass gatherings are completely outlawed, and our United States Supreme Court upheld it.
Where's the easiest place for me to get your video right now so I can show everybody your video?
Mine.
The one in Washington.
Oh, Washington video?
Yeah.
Uh,
cops?
Yeah. Well, it's on YouTube. We the People Advocates.
All right, let me grab that real quick. I'm gonna play that.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to see it.
Let me ask you a question about that. Jonesy, you talked about up in Canada, they'll probably arrest you and throw you under the jail and the whole 9 yards. But if there was a car accident on a highway and all the cars were stopped because of the car accident, and you got out of your vehicle and went up and down the lanes and start preaching about what's going on with Child Protective Services, that's way more than 25 people, Chris. But she didn't gather those people. They got stuck in a car accident.
Now you're talking. That's the one.
You see? So therefore, you're not demonstrating. You didn't set up a demonstration. It was set up for you. No cars could move. There's a big accident up ahead. Nobody can move. You get out of your vehicle and you start preaching to the people.
Yep.
That's not against the law. Isn't that freedom of speech?
Yeah, there's no freedom of speech in this country. I don't know about other countries, but we don't have freedom of speech.
Seriously, Chris, think of what I'm saying. You seen bumper to bumper traffic. Nobody's moving.
Yeah.
Okay? You get out of your car and you start talking to people about Child Protective Services. That's not against the law.
Where's he going to find a natural disaster all the time?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You can.
Where's he going to get a natural disaster to hold up traffic all the time?
Happens every day. Happens every day.
He's got to be there.
Every day. A cement truck flips over or a semi flips over and it blocks the entire highway for hours. You got people sitting in their cars for hours.
You still have time to get there then.
Wait! Don't forget all the construction that is going on on the roads in Maine right now.
Mm-hmm. You could be up here.
Yeah, these things happen.
Yeah,
Accidents happen.
They're happening for a reason up here. In Maine, they're happening for a reason because they actually visited the road commissioner himself, came here, and was not impressed with the way they had the roads here.
You shouldn't.
You know, you're right, but look, I'll give you an example. Look at how it's turned out in the UK right now. In the UK, obviously, Josie's seen my van. I turn up anywhere. I don't even need to have an accident. I just need to just stop because I want to stop on my own. And if the traffic is bad, they can't get away with watching and having a look what's on my van because the traffic is slow. So I go to town centres and I just park up. I'll go to a shopping mall, a busy mall, I'll just park up. And people just, obviously they're shopping, they're relaxed, and they pay attention. What the hell is that? And especially with big writing on it, exposing pedophiles, grooming gangs, corruption within the authorities. Would you like to know more? And I'm just sat there having a cheese and onion pasty and having a cup of coffee.
Yes. You didn't stage that demonstration. You just happened to be there.
No. Yeah. And I do that every day.
And there's nothing illegal about that.
No.
Oh, shit.
No.
I was not supposed to be on it. That was an accident, that one there.
Yes.
I mean,
you can't make these things happen. That's for sure. You know, even if you go, look, when I started, I didn't question anybody. I didn't ask anybody. I just got a lorry. I put massive logos on it, and I just started driving.
Yeah.
City to city, town to town, city to city, town to town. And it started waking people up. And by the second year, it was like, did we really see that? But then the videos, they were obviously, you know, everybody's got the technology today. So when they were going past, ching, ching, the police would go past, ching, ching, snapping shots, anybody, ching, ching, and they sharing it. And
from their homes. Our court system did not help these parents protect them. The court system instead exploited that family, stole that child, and put that child in a dangerous, exploitative position. I talked to parents who are victims of family court, and I talked to victims of the dependency court. These dependency court victims, I feel so bad for them. Hardly a day goes by when I don't get a phone call from another parent who is in tears because their child was stolen and put into a dangerous position of exploitation. These parents have nowhere to turn. They have nowhere to turn. When you go to the police about these matters, it's not their jurisdiction. When you take it up to every level, up to this federal government, and say, hey, my children were stolen unjustly, please somebody help. My children are in danger, please somebody help. They turned a blind eye. They refuse to help. They hang up on us. They do not return our phone calls. They do not save our children.
Chris, does this come over to when the cops get you, grab you?
There are so many children
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes in.
now who are in dangerous situations around this country. They're in foster care or they are placed with abusive parents. Meanwhile,
you're doing it, man. I mean, this is all you can ask for, you know?
Yeah, it gets kind of rough about 20 minutes in. You know, they come up. This is about it right here because you see, I don't have my megaphone anymore. They took the megaphone away.
All right,
so
that's
a good spot.
There we go.
Yeah, we're working together. That makes.
So Herbert, here you go.
Those parents that I know.
Your analysis. Here we go.
They call me. They ask me. They beg me to please, don't forget them. And I don't. I come out here boldly to tell you the truth. Children are being stolen by our family courts. Children are being stolen by the Department of Children and Families, and these statutes, codes, and ordinances are only meant to violate our rights for the purposes of generating revenue and slaves. Now, right now, where am I? I am standing before you at the Lincoln Memorial. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of American history that they don't want you to know.
Yeah, I was going to.
Abraham Lincoln. What is he famous for? Many will say ending slavery. He didn't end slavery. The Emancipation Proclamation, it removed the chains from those slaves in the southern states. It did that. But the 13th Amendment put bondage on all of us. The 13th Amendment expanded slavery throughout the entire United States. The 13th Amendment says that slavery is now legal as long as it is punishment for a crime. There are different forms of slavery. Some of it is labor slavery, that's physical bondage. Some of it is debt slavery, where you're a slave to debt. But one of the things that is common in all forms of slavery is that the people who are enslaving you will do anything to keep that stronghold over you. This court system, this system of statutes, codes, and ordinances, our family court system, our dependency court system, they are systems of slavery. They steal our money, they steal our children, and they steal our very lives. The United States is incarcerating more people than anywhere else in the known universe. The supposed land of the free is absolutely full of allegedly free people who exercise their rights and are now imprisoned for it. I ask all of you, wake up and recognize that your children could be next. Your family could be the next victim.
That's facts.
There's hardly anyone I know who doesn't know.
You have to put the noise amplification device down, right?
Can I speak for a moment? Like as a gentleman. So, yes, you do have First Amendment speech rights. You and I both agree with that. However, on the Lincoln Plaza, due to the superintendent's compendium, which applies to both the Lincoln Plaza Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, using a megaphone is a violation of 36 CFR, okay?
And to infringe on my exercise of my rights is a violation of 18 USC 242. And the fact that the two of you are working together, that makes it a violation of 18 USC 241. So you're both subject to, and the fact that the three of you are all working together, we have Pirong, we have Davey, Ayarardi. We have the three of you here right now, infringing on my right to free speech.
So we could discuss this
right now.
We're actually both not attorneys, but if
yeah,
you have
that's okay.
If you have an issue legally, we could go to court and you can make your argument there, okay?
The courts are corrupt, just like the blue wall of silence is corrupt.
So
the courts operate under immunity. They're not out. They're not out here to help us, just like you're not. Right now, you are trying to capitalize off of the exercise of my rights. Right now, you are infringing on my right to free speech. That makes you a tyrant.
Officer, I'm Dr. Tran. I'm a physician from Dallas, Texas.
Our children were stolen.
I'm not trying to argue that point.
Our children were stolen. We have a right to come up here and tell anyone, anywhere the truth about children being stolen in this country.
Okay, well, you also have an American right to contest in court once we were to issue a citation.
There's no due process in those courts.
Okay. Do you have an ID, sir?
I don't have an ID.
All right. Could you give me your first name, last name?
I don't consent to that. I don't want to.
Well, that's a DC criminal code if you were to fail to identify yourself.
DC criminal code. You're park police. You enforce DC criminal code.
Okay, but we're federal officers and we have jurisdiction in the DMV area.
Can you prove your jurisdiction?
If he does not use
look it up online.
Just prove your jurisdiction.
I'm a federal officer. I have jurisdiction all throughout the United States.
Prove to me that you have jurisdiction and you're a federal officer. Show me your jurisdiction.
All right. Do you want me to get my credentials? I'll show
Please.
you.
Yeah, let's see some proof of jurisdiction.
All right. Do you have your credentials on you? He thinks we're falsely identifying ourselves as law enforcement officers. So
we're not. If you want to bring that up in court, we can bring it up in court.
I just want you to prove your jurisdiction. I just want you to prove that you have jurisdiction over me.
You are an American citizen in America. You're not an American citizen? You're in America?
Nope.
Yeah, you are.
Nope.
All right, man.
I'm in USA Inc.
Okay.
This is not America. This is not the America that that our founding fathers fought for.
I told you before, this is not a roadside courtroom. If you want to make your argument, you make it in court.
I'm making an argument right now that right now you all are violating my rights and the law, and you don't have a right to violate my rights.
Okay.
So sue me in court. That's
the courts are corrupt. That's the point. That's why we the people are taking a stand, because the.
Okay.
Herbert, what would you say if someone would say that to you?
Okay, first of all, Chris, if I'm correct, you had the right to free speech. Am I correct?
I mean, Chris? This is the United States of America, and I was in a public place.
Chris, you're in a public place. Listen, Chris, you're in a public place. You had the right for free speech. Am I correct?
I would say so.
Good. The only thing they said is you can't use the megaphone. That's all they said to you. They weren't stopping you from talking. They just said, sir, you can't use the megaphone.
All right. So I'm going to tell you what the word infringe means. All right. To infringe is not to just stop. It's to limit. Okay. So infringing on someone's free speech is to limit their free speech, and to tell them how they can exercise their free speech is to infringe on their right to free speech. So regardless of whether or not they have an ordinance that says you can't use a noise amplification device or not, there's also an exception in there for federally protected activities. And this is in their own laws and rules too, and this is throughout the entire nation. There is an exception under every single, and I've been seeing this in multiple cities throughout the USA, there is an exception to the noise amplification clause. These ordinances, and that is that if you are doing a federally protected activity, then you are not violating the ordinance. There's an exception. And so what they failed to do was even try to look for the exception, and the noise amplification only applies to things that are not federally protected activities.
All right, but Herbert, yes. Would you say, where would you be?
Say that again?
All of that being said, what would you be doing? What would you say to him at this point?
I would say, Chris, you can have your free speech. I hear what you're saying about what you're talking about with the megaphones and everything else. But megaphones are not allowed on this mall. You can continue talking, but you cannot use a megaphone. If you want to take that up in court, take it up in court.
And what you'll see in this next part is that he says that very thing, right? And I carry on without the megaphone. But then he says that he is going to steal my property.
All right, hold on.
Courts are corrupt, and so is the blue wall of silence, who decides that to go ahead and write citations and issue ordinances for exercising the rights of Americans.
I did not initially want to write you a citation. I wanted to let you keep speaking. It's a noise amplification device that you are not allowed to use.
Given the fact that he's using a megaphone on the Lincoln Plaza.
I literally came up to you and said, hey man, I agree with what you're saying. Keep speaking. You can't use a noise amplification device.
I have a disability.
Yeah,
so that's that noise amplification device is my ADA.
There's no.
You want to violate my ADA rights?
There's no disability requirement or disability provision for noise amplification.
I'll make one. Believe it.
So go to court and make one, dude,
I will.
and then you'll be allowed
to.
to.
I will.
So if it were to be, no, so it's 25. So if there were to be a demonstration of 25 or more, there were to be needing to have a valid permit issued by the National Park Service in order to conduct that demonstration.
So then 24 and less we could speak in unison and we're good?
24 or less is that's good. Oh, you're welcome. No,
our children were stolen. And these people want to stop me from being able to tell you. My name is Chris. I have a 501c4 organization called We the People Advocates out of Oceanside, California. And I take phone calls from parents whose children have been stolen by corrupt government officials. Corrupt actors who call themselves public servants, who are in fact not public servants, but public enemies. There are so many children in this country being stolen every day. There are 850,000 children in foster care annually. That's 850,000 children being stolen from their parents. Our entire court system is corrupt. The United States of America is a business that infringes on the rights of people for the purposes of generating revenue and slaves. They're enslaving all of us through high taxation, theft of our children, and mass incarceration. Over and over again, our rights are being trampled upon by these people who call themselves public servants. But they are not public servants. They are not looking out for our interests. I have yet to see, lately, a single bit of legislation that enforces our rights. But we have millions of statutes, codes, and ordinances, and complete libraries full of them that infringe on the rights of us. There's not one law enforcement agency in America that enforces the rights of the people. Not one. The Department of Justice lets our complaints go unremedied. Our federal courts, our Supreme Court, they're entirely corrupt. They keep allowing these injustices to occur. They are aware of the situation. There's no question that it's happening. Nancy Schaefer talked about it. There are many books written on it. Just look them up. There's one called Killing Judges. There's one called, well, he must have done something. There's so many of them. There's dozens. These are things that people have been reporting on for years, decades. We are being enslaved and our children are being stolen. We have to stand up for the people. We have to stand up for the children so that we can preserve a future for them. There will be no future for humanity if we do not stand together and protect our children. The scheme to steal children away from their parents, exploit them and ruin their lives so they can eventually end up in our prisons, it is a big ass scheme. It's huge. It's huge. We've got the biggest incarcerated population in the world, and 80% of those people incarcerated came from broken homes, and our courts are not supporting the family, they're destroying them. It all ties it together. The court systems, the states, they're in the business of slavery. They're in the business of stealing children. And many people have stood up and said something. And at least a half dozen people that I know of were killed for it. At least a half dozen. I could very well be one of them. I'm risking my life to stand here before you to say these things.
All right, man. So I'm gonna let you keep speaking, right? We're just gonna write you a ticket for the megaphone, and we're gonna take the megaphone.
You can't take my property.
Yes, I can take
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. You shall not take my property.
I'm gonna take it for evidence now.
These tyrants are trying to steal my...
What now?
Okay, now, I don't know why they said they're going to write him a summons. Okay. I heard something about they're going to take his property, meaning the megaphone. He wasn't using the megaphone at that time. And they mentioned something about taking the megaphone. Then Chris proceeded to take the megaphone and start yelling through it again. Right there, I would be making an arrest.
Okay.
They
Now,
were attempting
again,
my property.
Attempted armed robbery. This is attempted armed robbery.
Okay.
These men are stepping outside of their jurisdiction to. And first of all, they never
why they
proved
were
their
taking,
jurisdiction. If you saw that,
why
I asked them to prove
why they were
jurisdiction,
trying
never
to
proved
take your Chris?
Right.
Why they
are
were trying to
steal
take
my
your
property?
Why they were trying to steal your property when you were not using it? You were not. I saw you clearly not using it. The officer finished writing the summons.
Armed robbery.
And
Now,
he's
what
getting-
happens after you commit attempted armed robbery, and I expose that you are committing theft? You're committing armed robbery in public. He's got an M16 on his fucking chest, and he's telling me that
the
he's
word
gonna
armed
steal
robbery.
my property.
From you, the word armed robbery. It wasn't armed robbery.
Okay, well, it's robbery,
said
and
that-
he was armed. So what kind of robbery is it? If
It
I
said
walked up
robbery.
to you, I had an M16 on my chest, and I said, "I'm about to take your car right now." What is that? That's armed. That's armed robbery.
What he was doing, Chris, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you, remember? This is Herbert.
We the people have just as many rights. as
Darren, tell
assholes in
Chris this is
uniform.
Herbert. Listen, it wasn't armed robbery they were trying to do. They were trying to confiscate your megaphone. Confiscate.
That's
Now,
another way to
why
say
were
armed
they?
robbery in my book. If one
Armed
person
robbery-
commits one act and another person commits one act, and in one case it's confiscating evidence, and in one
No,
case it's armed
that's
robbery.
they were
Well, in both
confiscating.
cases, it's confiscating evidence.
Let
In
me
both
show you
cases,
how
it's
I
armed
would.
robbery.
Okay, Chris, this is Herbert.
It's
Remember?
armed robbery.
Listen.
Herbert,
No,
I
listen.
understand,
No,
Herbert.
I'm gonna give you. No.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do an
police
armed robbery. I'm gonna do an armed robbery for you. Ready? Here we go. Hey, guy, I got a gun in my hand. I'm pointing it at your head. You give me that megaphone, or I'm gonna blow your brains out. That's an armed
Okay, but I'm gonna
robbery.
give you an armed robbery. I hand a piece of paper to a bank teller that says, "I have a gun. Give me all the money."
Yeah,
don't
you
have to
just
have a
did
gun,
it.
but if
You
you
just
did-
no, you just did it. You used a piece of paper. But you did exactly what I said, Chris. Chris, you did it. You wrote, Chris, you wrote on a piece of paper.
We're gonna watch more of this here. We're gonna watch
Having
more.
it
I
on
have
your
a right
resume.
to life, liberty, and property. These government agents may not steal my property. They may not take my liberty. And they shall not infringe on my freedom. We the people have got to rise against this tyranny. I have an absolute right to tell the truth that our government actors have turned this government into a business that infringes on the rights of the people and destroys our American family and has absolutely no bearing on our American ideals. I have not committed a crime, but this man is trying to steal my megaphone. I have told him he may not steal my property. He may not steal my property. Wait, get your hands off of me, sir. Get your hands off of me, sir. You do not have a right. 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 Please pick up my sunglasses. Please stop this man. He has committed crimes against other people. I have not done anything wrong. He is trying to steal my property, and I was trying to protect it by walking away.
Sir, can we speak this as civil gentlemen amongst one another?
We're not get him. Tell him to stop assaulting me.
All right, do you promise?
Tell this man to stop assaulting me.
If you were to...
He's got his hands on me. Tell him to stop assaulting me.
Sir,
I have not committed any crimes. Get his hands off of me.
Can you listen to me?
I am being assaulted right now.
Listen to me. Put down the megaphone so we can speak. And then he'll take his hands off, okay?
Not being arrested right now. You should communicate.
Yeah, you're not being... We're not arrested.
Behind your back.
All right.
You're not
May I
arrested.
hold it? We're not taking it. May I hold it? I just want to speak to you. That's all.
Tell him to stop assaulting me.
I'm going to take the megaphone. Hey, Rob, give me the megaphone. Hey,
We're not under arrest. Listen, Dipty's trying to work with us, man. We're just, we're just trying to speak with you. That's all.
I have a right.
You have a right.
I have a right. You have no right. Thank you. Can I have that, please? I have not committed any crimes. I've been exercising my rights. I have a right to free speech. Get your hands off of me. He's assaulting me right now. He is assaulting me right now. This man is assaulting me. Stop assaulting me, sir. Please, sir, stop assaulting me.
Become antagonistic. Like, at what point does this go from freedom march to you're antagonizing these guys to throw hands on you?
And that's a good question. I'll probably be asking him that question in court.
What's that?
I'll be asking him that in court.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, it's crazy. Let's go back to watching this here.
I asked you to prove your jurisdiction, you failed to. You don't have jurisdiction. You did not prove jurisdiction as I asked you to.
Officer, can you please de-escalate the situation?
Right now you're being detained.
Could you just be cool?
I will be cool with you if you let your hands off of me, please.
We're not arresting
Please.
you, man.
Okay, well, stop. Get your hands off of me. You have no right to put your hands on me.
You're not being
I
compliant.
haven't compliance. I'm standing here. I'm not running away from you. I'm standing here. Tell him to stop.
Why are you raising your voice?
Tell him to stop because he's assaulting me.
Come on.
He's assaulting me. These men are assaulting me. These men are assaulting me for exposing the blue wall of silence and exposing the child theft in America. They are assaulting me right now for exposing corruption. This is what happens in the United States of America when you tell the truth. They assault you. They assault you. They hurt you.
We're not assaulting you.
This is the blue wall of silence at its best. This is tyranny.
Calm down.
This is tyranny incarnate. You are witnessing tyranny at hand.
Listen to Dipty, please.
Tell these men to stop assaulting me.
Okay, let's not go.
Sir, stop assaulting me. It is not a lawful order to trying to physically assault me. There's nothing lawful about assault. There's nothing about this that's lawful.
Stop resisting.
I'm not doing anything.
You can tell
I'm just standing here.
We just want to talk.
You need it. Okay, well, let go of me.
Well, you're not compliant.
Let go of me.
Can you listen to me?
Let go.
Listen. Can you
let go? I am exercising my rights, and you're infringing on them. This is a violation of 18 U.S.C. 242. Deprivation of rights under color of law. He is using pain compliance, and he is trying to break my thumb. Right now, he's trying to break my thumb using pain compliance. These are tactics of the blue wall of silence to try and enforce these criminal codes. This is slave codes. This is an extension of slavery. This is not what Abraham Lincoln wanted for America. This is not what the founding fathers fought for. They did not fight so that people could be hurt and assaulted for exercising their rights. You are hurting me, sir. You are hurting me, and all I did was exercise my rights in the United States of America. All I did was tell the truth in public. All I did was tell the truth that my children were stolen, that her children were stolen, that children all over America are being stolen by these corrupt actors who call themselves public servants. They are not public servants. They are public fakers. They are public fakers just like these guys. Law enforcement should be enforcing the rights of the people, not infringing on them, not arresting people for the exercise of their rights. I've done nothing here, but just tell the truth. But just stand before you. They are hurting me. They are hurting me. They are hurting me. For what? It is not a lawful order because you have not proven your jurisdiction. Prove your jurisdiction, and I will. Oh, ah! 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 Stop trying to hurt me.
On your stomach.
Stop trying to hurt me.
On your stomach.
I'm
now.
not. Stop trying to hurt me.
Hold on.
My hands are here.
Got it? Get your hands behind your back now.
All right, so we've seen this pretty much. Ranji, what happens to you guys over there if you do this?
Well, there's a couple of things I've seen on that video that maybe. See, you were there. How many of you were there?
Oh,
Chris?
there was only 2 that day.
2 that day.
2 that day.
Now, I don't know if you, Darren, if you could do TikTok on there, can you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, we still have TikTok. They haven't taken it yet.
No. I'm saying, can you put a TikTok video on there?
Oh,
yeah. I can put a TikTok video. Yes.
Yeah, if you go onto my TikTok, I'm going to show you, but mine's a shorter one, but I'm going to show you. If you go onto my TikTok, go to the first video that's pinned, right? Because I noticed a couple of things that could have been done a lot, because I think it was in the wrong place as well, if you ask me.
Well, let me
Because
ask you. Let me ask
big
you.
ground,
You said he was in the
people
wrong
were.
place. You said he was in the wrong place. What?
Well, I'm gonna show you what I did in London. Okay, so when you go into the center, for example,
But you can show us what you did in London. But before we see what you did in London, what could Chris have done to get his point across? Can you tell us?
Not been so triggered. He was
Yeah.
way too triggered.
Yeah, what he could have done is firstly not been there just with 2 of them, okay? Because when you've got a few people with you, then you attract the crowd, which is good.
Wake up,
okay?
America! When people are going
So-
to DC, just get your ass there. Don't wait, and don't let them go by themselves. Especially when they've spent 6 months trying to organize something for you.
Yeah, well, this is the thing,
Now,
you see.
the other thing, the other thing I noticed, the other thing, if I could break in, the other thing I noticed, Chris didn't have a crowd. People were just walking around.
Yeah.
Nobody was. I mean, the people who were walking around were probably visitors from other countries, people who worked there on lunch breaks, and people just passing by.
Well, no, it was a weekend, so it was tourists from all over the United States, tourists from all over
Yes.
the world, and
Yes.
it was the Gaza protesters because the Gaza protesters were there. So in
Yes,
doing that, I managed to attract the Gaza protesters. That's who you see in the video at the end there, right before they attack me with their weapons and bring me to the ground. Is that as the Gaza
But
protesters
Chris,
who were watching?
you didn't have a demonstration. You didn't have an organized bunch of people standing there. You didn't have an audience standing there listening to you.
And I went by their offices beforehand and I told them what my intentions were and that I was going to be exercising my rights in public. And I asked them if there was going to be any issues, and they told me there wouldn't be any issues, and they brought some issues to my table.
So, did you ask them about using a megaphone?
I told them that I had my equipment, I had a megaphone. I've got
Did
that
you tell
video
them-
too. I haven't posted that one, but I told them what I was
Okay,
using, what I was
you
doing.
told them that you're going to be
One man, one
using
man.
a megaphone. You informed them that you're going to be using a megaphone.
They saw me the weekend before at the Dr. King Memorial. So
Did you
it was the
inform
Dr.
them,
King Memorial
Chris? Chris, did you inform them that when you speak, you're going to be using a megaphone?
I did. I have it on video.
And they approved your megaphone.
They told me that, I mean, they said that, you do what you do, you break any rules.
Did they say it's
They
okay?
were very non-specific on purpose.
Okay, but no, they're specific. It's either yes, you could use a megaphone, or no, you can't. So did they say yes, you can use your megaphone?
Yeah, they didn't say. So
then when a police officer walked up and said, "Sir, you can't use, you could speak," he said it, I heard him. You could speak. You have freedom of speech. You can't use a megaphone.
Now tell me.
Now, if you would have said, "Okay, I'm not going to use my megaphone," and you stood there and kept talking, you would have been fine.
But I did that, and then they said that they were going to.
When you look at the satanic ritual abuse, it's not coming through properly.
These children are trafficked around goes on and on. Daily, hourly, you name it. These children are trafficked around. Exactly. But let alone what's going on in the schools. What's going on in the schools?
Darren, get going.
Let alone what's going on in the schools. What is going on? The sexualization of the schools is combined with our children. Now, what's real love?
All right, hold on. Ricky.
All I can say is I'm proud of you guys. I'm
Right,
proud.
that was echoing, but let me tell you what is the difference, just to help. Firstly, what we did is we went to the London Bridge, which is in the town centre. We didn't, on this particular one, we didn't take any permission because we don't need permission. But when you do something, you want to have an impact. So you have a time limit on the impact. I mean, this one, I mean, we only did it for about, I think, 20 minutes or something. But we shut that bridge down by parking the van up and stopping. The crowd, we had about 30, 40, maybe 100 people there. So they had the banners. They just walked into the middle of the road, and we had a not a megaphone like yours, but a massive speaker one. And one of the guys just let it rip in while everybody's videoing. Both sides of the traffic was stopped. It was jammed out both sides. Nobody was going nowhere. But we made the impact. We didn't want to stay there too long because we didn't want to cause any extra animosity with anybody. However, just when we finished, we had 4 police vans, 4 police cars that followed us, which we didn't mind. So then they came and started walking with us, asking us questions, and I was in the van. So I was asking the question, telling them that, yeah, I'm in the van, I'm with the protest, you know what I mean? Just come over that bridge. And obviously, I know one of the vehicles had an issue, just made anything up, kept it very, very simple. And we walked off, and we had a nice slow walk to the next destination. And we were surrounded by police, but not one police officer was pulling us over, trying to give us any tickets or anything whatsoever. So I got to the next location, we parked up, no issues whatsoever. Because when you're doing something like that, you got to be organized. But on your own, like what I do every single time when I'm out, when I'm on my own, I go to the most busiest place in the town, in the city, wherever it's going to be, whether it's the busiest shopping mall or the town center. Sometimes, you know, you have roundabouts and you've got a space in the middle of the roundabout. I drive onto the roundabout because long as I'm not breaking any laws, I'm not obstructing anybody, I can virtually do what I want, okay? Because I'm not getting anybody's way. So, but in short terms, you could do a massive impact in the middle of the city, shut the whole bridge down. Yeah, it caused them a bit of an issue, but we caused the impact. And we had 100 lives going on. We probably hit about 1 million people between us all. Easy. So it went viral between all of us. Brilliant. We're getting the job done. But when you're going on your own, you've got to understand what you don't want to be doing is...
I wasn't trying to go on my own. People just didn't show up. I advertised this for 6 straight months. And only less than like maybe a half dozen people showed up total. You know, 6 months I tried to get people to prepare, plan, organize, and get your shit together because we're going to DC. And after 6 months of pushing it, 6 people showed up. You know,
No,
and
well, look,
people were afraid to leave their houses. People were afraid that they were going to get in trouble. People were afraid of this and afraid of that, and too broke and too scared and too whatever. But people didn't show up, and it makes it a lot harder when you know people won't show up. People won't show up and fight against this corrupt system. They're too scared. They're too weak. They're too whatever. Making too many damn excuses.
But you know what happened is that you proved them right.
20,000 views on that video so far. 20,000 views plus. You know, that's some kind of an impact. You know, all of those people who were there know about the situation.
You seem to me to be very intense, and I would be the same way. I would have reacted the same way as you. Hey man, get your fucking hands off of me, because I'm very intense too. But I think he's more like calm and doesn't get into it. Me and you had the personality that were like, well, you listen to me. I'm not here. I worked for 6 months, blah, blah, blah. You're going to listen to me.
Nobody showed up, you know? Yeah. You know, if people would have shown up, I wouldn't have been by myself. If people cared enough,
jump in front of the start a riot and make a bad name for us?
Yeah, well,
really, you know, you don't want to be the troublemakers in these scenarios. You don't want to give a bad name to the people that are trying to go there and portray their message and get their message across. You can't be the bad, you know, the bad example that ruins this movement before it goes. Like
if we had 15 people there, we could have done something more impactful. But the only way to get any type of impact, I mean, that video right there is the only one out of everything that I did at DC and all the places that I went. The one that I get arrested on is the one that gets in the tens of thousands of views. That's the only one. The other ones are still in the thousands of views. They haven't even hit the 10,000 mark. And that includes the Senate. So in the Senate video, there's police all in through that, but I didn't get arrested. And so it's a shame, but it takes getting arrested for people in this country to want to see the video.
Yeah, but look, let me just advise this is just a bit of guidance. See, when I go and let's say nobody turns up, I do more damage just by just standing there with a billboard that says on it, social services are liars, criminals, storytellers. Would you like to know more? And I stand there with this billboard. I don't have to say anything. And I'm guaranteed to people saying, hang on, what's this all about? And then it gets into a dialogue. So even though the people haven't turned up, I create the demand for people to be around, to make it into 10 people, then 150 people, etc., etc. But when you're on your own, you're taking the chance of, because obviously they only did that because you were on your own. If you had a lot of people, or even on yours now specifically, you could have just said to them, listen, you're not taking my property, I'm not using it, and continued. The chances are they'd say they would have said to you, okay, you can keep it, but you're not using it because you're not allowed to use the megaphone, because that was the excuse. Okay, that was them telling you they're trying to play the authorities. I would have played along with it, kept the megaphone, and continued portraying the message. You understand? But if you're calm and collective about it, they don't know what to do about it. If you're aggressive and frustrated about it, they want to use it against you as a weapon. Oh, look, you're aggressive, you're behaving irrationally. It's just the way the coppers are because they're programmed, remember.
Understand, we should be aggressive. We should be pissed the fuck off. Children are being stolen en masse like crazy, and adults are being trafficked through prisons like crazy. We have no rights. Every right that we thought we had is infringed upon and turned into a profit scheme for one organization or another. We should be pissed off, and we need to organize, and we need to end this once and for all. We can't, telling people and informing people is only one part of the battle. We need a call to action, and we need to come together, and we need to fight this shit and end it.
Now here's the thing:
allow it to happen, and doing it without passion is only going to show that they have won.
Yeah,
that we are weak, and that we are.
Chris, what the gentleman is trying to say to you is, you're coming off with piss and vinegar doing this. You can't come off with piss and vinegar. You got to beat the man. You got to beat the system at its own game, Chris.
We have a right to resist unlawful arrest.
You have to beat the system at its own game. You got to play the game, Chris. You got to play the game. Yes,
The
yes,
game is
yes,
set
yes.
against us. We
You
can't
you
say it
you
and beat it.
play the
If we
game.
did,
You
we
play
would
the
have a
game.
cop on our side who would just be able to say that this shit's happening and everything would fall into place. But that's not enough. We play
Okay,
their
I'll
game
give you
and
another
they can take it away
another
because it's
example. You
their
could
game
have got your
and
whole.
their rules.
You're not even listening.
Their game, their rules.
An example.
So we have to step outside
Hey,
of
Chris,
their game.
listen, Chris. If you were in the subway and you were in a subway car, it was a crowded subway car, and you started speaking to people, guess what? You got a captive audience. They're not going nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? Chances are in that car, there's no police. In that subway car, there's no police, no law enforcement. It's just you and the people.
Yes,
and you could
but when
ride
I'm sitting
subway
there in
cars,
public
Chris.
places like
You could
I
ride
do,
subway.
I go
You could ride subway cars all day, and you'll get to speak to literally thousands of people, captive audience, not people walking back and forth. You would be able to speak to people sitting around, and you got them captive. They can't move. They have to listen to you.
Now, Chris, just one thing for you. You mentioned that you've got to be pissed off for what they do, and I agree with you there. But when they commit and massacre the way they are, I understand your passion. I totally agree with you. We know we're in war, but do you go into war on your own? The answer is no. So this is the reason why what I'm saying. For the first 2 years, I was going out town by town, waking them up, waking them up, waking them up. So like the way I put it is, public are programmed. You got to learn how to reprogram them like a computer. You need to reprogram. How to reprogram is need to start going to them personally. Drip feed them stage by stage, stage by stage, stage by stage. With the authorities, you've got to play the game. Okay. Now with those, when we do something that's let's say wrong. Now look, on that London Bridge, what we did was wrong. But we did it as an impact because we knew the time scale, we knew the setup. So we did the damage and then we moved on. And so they couldn't do anything because we captured the whole event, everything. We stopped everybody. We had probably about 1,000 people, couldn't go anywhere. Everybody was just stuck. So we moved on. Next place we went to, it was packed out. And that next place, obviously, we took our time with our megaphones and everything of the sort, but we structured it. That's with obviously people there. But on your own, my suggestion would be is exactly what Hubert said. Get like people, whether it's on the train, whether it's in your shopping mall. And I'm telling you, me myself, what I've been doing, I go to a city or a town, I go to a really, really busy place. On my own, I will make a video because my van, the logo does the damage. In other words, a billboard could do the same damage. I make the video, I release it, I make it go viral, I link all the towns local to it, and I let everybody know I'm there for the next 8 hours. But while I'm in the town, I have a billboard saying, "Would you like to know more?" Or social services, liars, criminals. And I'm telling you, what I find is social workers will come over, business professionals come over, and more importantly, every single person who has been affected by it or who knows somebody who is affected by it wants to know more, wants to know what you know. And then you go, me personally now is, I go into a professional dialogue. Hey, now you're asking me, would you like to know more? Let me show you how they steal our children. Let me show you what they're covering up. Let me show you what's behind the scenes. So I stage by stage, I show them, I drip feed them one document. What do you think? I ask their advice, their opinion, and I get the same outcome. This is major problem here. Is this what they're hiding? Yes, they are. Would you like to know more? Oh my gosh, They'll ring a friend up, a family member up, associate up. Hey, there's a guy down here. You've gone through this. You might want to get here. So I'll capture the people coming to me, and I don't have to go to them. But that's me on my own, just like with what you did there on your own, without making a sound. I mean, because it was such a big place, open space, people were scattered everywhere. They weren't focused on what you had to say because they were too occupied with their own. But if you capture them where they can't get away from and you say the right words, which you were saying, let them come over to you and they'll ask you. Okay, this is just my advice. That's all it is. And when you say it, like I've just made it clear, I've got a billboard literally says social services, liars, criminals, storytellers. In other words, CPC, liars, criminals, storytellers. Would you like to know more? With a question mark. And I just stand there. I have my cheese and onion pasty and a cup of coffee. And within the hour, I guarantee you, I have 20 people that I've never met before that are surrounding me, want to know what I'm talking about, including the police. Well, what's this all about? Because the police can't do anything because I'm not causing any alarm, distress, harassment. But I understand your passion. But your passion side of it, when you mentioned about it's worth being frustrated and everything, I agree with it. But you be frustrated in a manner in public because don't forget your audience is the public. So to win the public over for me, I'm very, very calm, collective. I'll show you some of my lives and everything with what I'm very calm with it. I'm relaxed with it, but I do the fucking damage.
Are you saving any children though? Have you gotten any children to safety yet?
Yes. I've even stolen children from them and now they're safe. I'll do whatever it takes. But then you got to think, you can't put yourself at risk. You can't put anybody else at risk, and you don't put. You definitely can't put yourself because if you put yourself at risk, how are you going to help somebody else tomorrow?
Right.
So you got to think like that. So we do save children. You know what I mean?
Also,
so
Chris,
these,
you, if you could get on a train, try that. If you could get on a bus.
it's being put up, I think.
But
It's yeah, so we are saving kids. I just don't talk about saving kids. Like, I don't bring their stories out and I don't talk about it for one reason only. Because if they find out that I'm supporting, this is how I've got the children back, they'll try to attack that family again. So I don't. So I just keep the fight going, but support the public separately. Now we've got lawyers that know what we're doing. Lawyers are actually working with us. So when we've got cases, we ring them up. And let me tell you something, through LCS, when we send them a case, within 2 hours, they react because they know their business is online. You know what I mean? With us, because we bring them 30% of their trade. And by the end of this year, I dare say we'll be hitting about 90% of their trade. So they've got to do what we want. So the more we do for them the right way, the better it is for us. But you can't put yourself at any risk. On your video, I would have literally have got the megaphone off him and said, listen, I'm keeping the megaphone. You've told me I can't use it. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm putting it to the side, but there's no need to try to steal my megaphone. Leave it alone. You've told me, I'm happy with it. And they were entrapped at that point, you see, because now you've complied with what they said, even though it was wrong. Because don't forget to give you a citation. You could deal with that later. You see, then if they try to go for your megaphone, then you have them. You entrap them with their own silly ass games because they really are stupid people. They don't know the law. Most of the coppers don't know none of the laws. Hubert, you were saying something before you went, mate?
Yes, I was saying, Chris, why don't you consider taking a bus, a city bus, and doing your stalk? Take a train.
Yeah, I do that. I take buses, trains throughout Walmart, the grocery stores, the gas stations. I talk about this literally everywhere I go, the library, the beach. I mean, and it's
And
actually
then, and then, and then,
even
and
my
then,
niece.
like the gentleman said, say to people, if you want to know more about it, give them your website, give them your email, give them information, your phone number, or whatever. You'll be able to accumulate thousands of people.
Yeah, but we do recognize that every single minute that goes by, another child's being taken. You know, every minute that we're sitting by, and you know, like there's
Yeah.
5 of us right here. The 5 of us could be working to get together in one central place and going to do something, you know, incredible. You know, there's millions worldwide, and you know, there's so many things that we can do to end this abruptly and permanently, and you know, nobody is doing those things yet. So,
Chris, I mean, I totally agree with you because don't forget the aim is to wake the public up. If you get my TikTok off, Darren, have a look at any of my videos.
oh, I've seen your videos.
So you see me, I stand there very calmly and I describe what's going on and I'll go through what's actually on the billboard or my van. I take it very, very calm. Just me, because don't forget, we're looking at the public. It's the public we need to win over. They don't want to see somebody angry, frustrated, because that for them, then it starts to perceive like, oh, it's an angry parent. He's lost his child. He's probably done something wrong. They have a preconceived view like that. But when you articulate in a nice, polite manner, I sometimes go out with a shirt and tie, a suit, and I do that. Because in certain areas, when I do it, they think, hang on, he's a shirt and tie suit, he's got a little billboard, he's not saying anything. Would you like to know more? And then if you've got evidence with you, which is even better, then you can have a genuine dialogue to revert that person or to reprogram that person into your way of thinking, into the truth, into the light. And once you start doing it to one person, the videos you're making on your site, then you could guide them to the site. And then I guarantee you, they'll go back home. They'll tell their friends, they'll tell their family, I met somebody, they look at this, this is what I've just learned, and this is what's happening. Because don't forget, there's always somebody, there's nobody should be in America that doesn't know somebody who's gone through this shit. Because it's in UK, nobody is exempt. Everybody knows somebody who's gone through this shit. So this way, they're like calling the people, hey, follow this person here. He's actually exposing them. He's speaking up about them. He's in the public arena. It's only when you've got a team behind you, right? Now, look, if I was in America, for example, or God willing, if that time comes, I could come. I'll bring my van with me. Yeah, I'll show you, and I'll tell you one thing: you watch the damage I do, because there's 100 ways of skinning a cat, and one thing I don't waste my time with is the parliaments, the top dogs, because they're full of shit. What's the point of knocking on their door? I want to get the average Joe to wake up because that's where the power is. And once you start, forget DC. If you go through the rest of the United States, I guarantee you before the end of the year, you'll have a million strong that will come at a rally. And on that rally, you can speak loud, but not on a megaphone. It'll be a massive bass speakers because it'll be a proper organized, but people will help and support because they've been affected by it. You know, so I'm not taking your passion away. I totally agree with you because I'm the same here. Look, we were just saying 3,000 children a day are being stolen. I know this. I suffer with this. I want to do something about it, but I've got to think smart. Because if I don't think smart, the only one that's going to jail is me. If I go to jail, who's going to take the fight on? Who's going to wake the others up? Now, for me, I'm blessed because I've been doing it for the last 4 years in front of everybody, that I've got a team, but at least we've got a platform, we've got everything sorted. So if anything happens to me, the team will just automatically pick up the pace and keep it going. But we provide them evidence. I mean, I literally, wherever I go, I take evidence with us. And the kind of evidence I take, I prove that they're liars, criminal storytellers, and they're child abusers with evidence, with facts. And I convert the police. Now, you see them police officers that you had there? If you just left the megaphone and said, listen, I'll put that to a side, but hey, guys, I appreciate you're supposed to be helping and supporting. I appreciate what you're saying. I've took the megaphone down, but I've got a concern, and you're my police department. This is what's happening. I'd like to share this information with you. Would you like to know more? Back to the same thing again, because your message is to open the doors and also bring people to the light, including the police, like I do. I bring the police. They didn't even talk to me because when they talk to me, they know I'll entrap them. Because after that, I went to the next place in London, and literally there was about 25 police officers. Every one of them, I said, guys, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much for your support, walking us down. But you know what's on that vehicle, everything of the sub. I went through with them. I said, would you like to know more? Because here I've got some evidence. Two of them said to me yes first, and then everybody avoided me because they said, "Here, look, he has the evidence." Because I gave him a copy. That then give that now they've got the copy. What they're going to do? They've got to go back. They've got to show it to somebody. The word is spreading without you knowing about it. He'll show it to his members, his police officers, his detectives. What do you think of this? This is what's happened, and you're reverting them or you're reprogramming them. I hope that makes sense, but I love your passion. I definitely love it. And if I was there, I would have joined you. But them coppers wouldn't have had a look and to touch you because there was no need. If anything, we would have shared in the concerns to the police to say, hey, guys, are you going to help us? I'd really appreciate it. Our children are at risk. Remember, they're the police, public servants, to do what? Protect. And also to take in crime.
Yep.
And then you bring them on board. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
In actuality, Chris, I'll tell you something else. From my observation and from my experience as being police, they were being nice to you. They really were. You didn't even realize it. All they wanted you to do was not use the megaphone, because all they had to do was detain you, take you away, not arrest you, just take you away, then write the summons, give it to you, and let you go about your business.
Well,
they didn't do that.
Yeah,
they didn't do that.
They
didn't. They didn't move. No, Chris. I watched the video.
Sat me in jail for 3 hours and then sent me home with some citations.
Chris, I watched the video. I saw it with my eyes. You were still talking while they were writing the summons. They didn't have to do it that way. They could have taken you, your megaphone, everything else into the station house and then wrote the summons and let you go. They didn't do that. They let you continue talking.
Ultimately, that's what they did. Ultimately, what they did is after they arrested me, they took me to the police station, sat me down at their station for 3 hours, fingerprinted me, wrote me 4 citations, and then kicked me out the front door.
Yeah, but the thing is, they stopped you from talking.
Right, they did. They stopped me from talking.
No, but see, you stopped yourself from talking. If you would have just complied with the megaphone. Now
here's the deal. Where was I at? I was at the Lincoln Memorial. All right. Now, as people are walking by the Lincoln Memorial, first of all, it's a big open space. Now, nobody is going to be able to hear anything farther than 20 feet away from me, no matter how loud I'm talking. Unless I'm yelling.
Right.
And if I'm yelling,
right.
then it's going to sound very appealing to the ears, and nobody's going to want to come by. Nobody's going to want to care what I have to say because I'm screaming it, and it's going to hurt my throat. It's going to put me out of breath, and it's not going to solve anything or have any type of effect whatsoever. Now, with
that's why the gentleman was saying you were at the wrong attention. The gentleman, what the gentleman is saying from the UK is that you were at the wrong venue.
I know, but if the wrong venue, regardless, the venue was a place where people who've never heard this before are going to hear it. This was a venue where people from all over the country and the world are going to hear whatever I say. And it was a place that Gaza protesters were currently at, so that there was already mass groups of people who were there protesting different things that are happening in this country. So,
but the Gaza protesters had.
And there were a lot of people recording at the time. People who knew nothing about this and never heard anything about this before were recording what I was saying, and they were listening and paying attention. So it did get some impact. And like I said, that video has gotten more views than anything else I've ever done. And,
because of the arrest. Because of everybody likes to see violence.
It's fine. The message got out there. It's worth it. The message got out there. It was a success because even with the arrest, people heard the message.
Okay.
Chris, let me give you one. Sorry, one thing you mentioned about the Gaza protesters. Now, I've been to places where Gaza protesters there, and for me, the best thing is I actually go to the Gaza protesters and I say to them very, very clearly, "Hey guys, I agree with you. I fully support you. But did you know what they're doing in Gaza? They're doing it right here." They're stealing our children. They're doing this. And I would have won over, which I 100% all the time do. I won the whole Gaza protesters, win them over, or the Palestinian protesters, because they think, fucking hell, we didn't know that. Because don't forget, what you're doing is you're rallying your troops. You're making your military, your base, your army. So to make your army, you get the right people on the right venue. So when a venue like that happens, for example, and there is a Gaza protest, just go into them and say, "Hey guys, I appreciate this." Is what I said, and literally, what you'll find is then they would probably support you. You understand? You wouldn't be standing there alone. So whether there was 50 or 100.
So yeah, I mean they were the people who were in the Gaza crowd. There were even some of them who had dealt with this before, and they were yelling out during the arrest. There's other angles of this video, and there's actually some videos that were taken by them that were sent to me. But yeah, they were very supportive. So and they were assisting, and it's understandable because what's happening in this country and what's happening in your country and what's happening in their country, it's genocide. We're all dealing with genocide. They are.
Yeah, what's happening in America and what's happening in UK, for example, is because we've been silent about Gaza, about Palestine. They've been doing it for 75 years and they've been getting away with it, and we've been watching it. It was a matter of time before they come here, because who runs Gaza or that area? It's the Zionist. Who owns your lobby now? The Zionist. We got quarter of our lobby over here that's run by the Zionists. So people now understand that to remain silent on Gaza is the reason why they're coming here, because they know that they've indoctrinated us enough, controlling us enough, and programmed enough. And this is why I talk about reprogramming them in a manner that they could understand, drip feed them from the beginning without going into child trafficking and heavy talks. Because when you do heavy things, the police could take that offensive because they could say, "Oh, what the hell? They don't understand." So I do the same thing with, because they're all humans, don't forget. Doesn't matter about the titles. I bring them down to the ground level. And I really would have been thinking in my mind with your situation, I would have won them police officers over and said, "Hey guys, I understand what you're saying. I want to use the megaphone, but I'm really, really troubled by certain events that are going on. Hey, I've got some information. I'd like your help. I want to report some crimes." Get him involved, because at that point, as a police officer, it's his duty. He can't walk away. He needs to take your crimes. So then you report that crime to him. And if he takes the crime and he sees the evidence, get the reference number for the crime reference number of him. Then you could take him up with that afterwards as well. So you double barrel with everything. I don't let anybody get away. And that's why I just said earlier on, I literally just stand there very silent with a billboard, CPS, liars, criminal storytellers. Would you like to know more? But I'm prepared for when anybody comes. I could have a rational dialogue with him. Because don't forget, professionals want to be spoken to professionally. They don't want to be screamed at. I understand your passion, but for somebody who's not in this field, who doesn't understand this, the last thing or what he'll probably want to do is avoid a conversation with somebody to him is ranting and raving and screaming and shouting on something that he doesn't get. So I keep it very, very simple. This is just advice, and I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to commend you again on your passion, because you got a great passion. I just love for you to use it in the right way and get it done. And in a lot of ways, couldn't give a shit about the major cities. Fuck them. Who gives a shit about fucking Washington, D.C., where they are, where the leaders are? Because they don't give a fuck. I'm telling you that. I've been outside the Supreme Court in London. and I parked my van outside the Supreme Court in London. That's on one of my TikToks. And where I parked, I had nearly 5,000 vehicles in traffic jams going past, so they couldn't get away. So I was getting the message over, because what was happening? People were taking videos, people were taking photo shots again and again and again and again. It slowly but surely, the message was coming out.
That is literally that was what I wanted to do in DC, but I couldn't get enough people there so that we could rent the cars and make it happen. That was literally what I wanted to do, was go to the Supreme Court and stop traffic.
Okay. Hold on, Herbert. I know we're getting towards them hours there. And we're supposed to be had done last words by now.
Okay, I just want to say one last thing to Chris. Chris, to your defense, the police officer should not have taken your megaphone when you were not using it. I'm going to just give you that to your defense. You stopped using it. He shouldn't have said, "I'm taking your megaphone." Nope. He was wrong for doing that. You follow?
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. There was no need to take your megaphone. You stopped using it. There was no need to take the megaphone. Okay? So I agree right there. But then, of course, you picked it up again. He started to use it. But when he was saying, "Give me the megaphone," nope, there was no need to do that, because you said, "Okay, I won't use it," and then you stopped using it, and you started using your voice. So I would say the police were wrong right there for trying to take your megaphone, as you call, what did you say, robbery?
Yeah, armed robbery. Armed robbery.
Oh, armed robbery. Yeah. So they should have did an armed robbery.
They displayed weapons.
Yeah.
While they're telling me they're gonna take my property.
They shouldn't have done an armed robbery of your megaphone. I'll agree with you on that. Okay, Vinny, go ahead.
So it's about that time to do last words, guys.
Yeah, dude, we were way past for sure. This is fun. I mean, this was good.
This is very educational tonight to learn, what's going on all over, and I think we should pick it back up on this tomorrow night.
Yeah, let's just see where it runs us to, man, because it's definitely going to lead us in
Well, I'll be on tomorrow night anyway. Actually, Chris, what might be healthy for you, I think I'm on tomorrow night live anyway. Have a look at how I'm dealing with things. And I do a live TikTok with anybody and everybody to ask me questions. Sometimes I get professionals involved. They trying to attack, but it's how to deal with the problems and show them the information, have my posture right. Sometimes the people go off the trolley, shall we say, you know what I mean? But just trying to do it the right way. And look, I'm going to have my last words, because I know Vinny said that it's your last words time. I want to say firstly to every single one of you, I think it's been a pleasure meeting you. And I'll come on board as many times as it takes, because at the end of the day, your children are like my children, and I think we need to move forward with that and work out the best ways to implement these things to wake the nation up. Because once the nation is waked up, then you could use your passion in a better way. But at the beginning, if you do something wrong, something goes wrong with you, who's going to take the fight on? And it sets a bad example as well, because obviously they'll portray it in a bad light, try to make other citations and make allegations. It won't look good. But I want to say thank you very much for Herbert, Chris, Vinny, Darren. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on board. Respect to every one of you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Likewise.
Chris,
thank you.
What's your last words for tonight?
Yeah, last words. First of all, this has been a great show. Thank you so much. I appreciate all you guys and all the work that you do to help the children of the world to try to not have to experience these injustices that we know are occurring. And I appreciate all of your efforts to try and stop this from happening. I hope that we are all successful, and sooner rather than later, in ending these injustices to children worldwide. I also want to say that we can win this, and that this is a war. We can win this war, but it is going to take uniting. We're going to have to stand strong and unite as a people, all of us throughout the world, unite against our tyrannical governments who are in the businesses of human trafficking. I'd like to say I would love to be on the show with you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow I've got another engagement. I'm going to be working with the American Independent Party and assisting with their campaign for the presidential election. But later on this week, I'll be happy to join you guys. We can. I'll be happy to pick up any of these conversations. And my phone number is right there on the screen. If anybody is interested in becoming in assisting out the nonprofit organization, We the People Advocates out of California, and assisting us in our advocacy efforts, you can reach me at that phone number right there. Just send me a text with your skills and your name and contact information, and I'll try to find a way that you can use your skills to try and help this cause. Of course, if you decide that a donation is the best thing that you can do, I imagine that any one of these three organizations right here, if you wanted to donate any of your money or time, I'm sure all of us have ways that you can help out and assisting in this cause of ending our slavery and ending child suffering. So thank you so much for your time, guys. I appreciate you.
Herbert, last words?
I'm in support of ending child suffering and slavery and all that's going on, and hoping that people get their children back. But my movement, as everybody knows, is to learn how to avoid being a target of CPS. So you have to learn all the things to avoid CPS coming after you. Mm-hmm. And with that said, I pass on to the next person.
Well, that leaves me before Darren. So my last words for tonight is this: have faith, have trust. Hate your caseworkers as much as you hate your corrupt politicians.
All right. Mine is, it's me, right? It goes to me now?
Is Durham still on, or is he gone off?
Did you go, Randy?
I was saying, as I've gone, I was saying, is Durham still with us, or is he gone off?
Oh, Durham, yeah, it's you up.
Nope, he's gone, but Josie's here, I think.
Okay, Durham, Darren, it's you next.
Josie, you there?
Earth to Josie. Come in, Josie.
Josie's out. Company leader to Josie. She's gone.
Yeah, I think she went to bed.
All right, so now it's to Durham.
Durham did it first.
Oh, it's me? All right, cool. I'm going to go with don't ever stop this fight, because you never know what could happen. You know, you could be in Schitt's Creek in 1 second, and then the very next, you could have the whole case in your hands. So you never know when you can beat these guys. And if you're dead, you can't really do it. And that's about it, what I have to say. So we're going to take off. I'm the CPS Punisher. Join us back here tomorrow night. Hopefully these guys come back tomorrow night, and we can talk a little bit more. And we'll see you all then. CPS Punisher out of here. Have a good night.